There's a lot of guys that are active in this community to try and keep things going and keep the racing exciting. And speaking of exciting racing, that's exactly what we're about to have now. We've got Essa in second place. Next to him, Sherrod. Behind that, we've got Leslie Oliphant and Abschmeyer in the second row. Bashir Jadwat in the third row with the other Sherrod brother. As we now make our way, it's green flag racing. Off they go. Right-hand lane there. Audi starts to get a lead. We've got Claessens coming from the back, putting up next to Jadwat over here. So far, so good. All of them clean. They're all going in a bit of a bunch. They're further back. The guys are getting into quite a bunch. Into the first corner there. Claessens goes down the middle. It's three abreast down the first corner. Jadwat gets through clearly. All the cars get through clearly. It looks like they're pretty much in the same positions now, with Essa, though, getting shuffled back into third position.
Oh, no, he's got it here. You see, that's what I mean. He can run him as wide as he wants to here. See, he's left him space, but two cars can go through there. So that was good defensive driving, even though it seemed like Leslie had the job done. So he knows that on that left hand, he can stay up the inside and ensure that he keeps. But listen, pros, well done. No incident.
Well done. Cody made some mistake there, but Cody has to go fighting. Cody is fighting for position. Cody is fighting for position with Claessens at the moment further back there. And the Audi definitely getting his hands full over there of the junior Sherrod. But up front, it is all senior Sherrod, Jordan Sherrod in the front there, getting chased by Zahir Essa, Leslie Oliphant behind that, and Abschmeyer. Nice to see Jason Abschmeyer back in the mix there. I know someone that you've tipped to be quite talented in a car as well as a sim.
Junior, I think, was kind of mid-pack, but he's obviously either dropped way down, so I don't think he was involved in that incident.
Junior McCall currently in 24th position there. Marius is mixing it up. We've got Wesley Hampson over there, Skitter, Lindsay Ray, and that's Byron Walker having a look now. Byron Walker having a look down the outside. I don't think that's going to make it stick. Wesley Hampson looking on at both of them as they come out to chicane. They're coming to visibility now. Wesley Hampson right from the bumper there of this two. Oh, Byron runs a little bit wide. They touch. Nothing serious though. Wesley Hampson goes down the inside, take advantage. Three abreast. The Porsche runs wide, but he gets the run down the inside. Wow.
It's brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Junior McCall, that is how it's done, showing them that 12-year-old elbows can be just as wide. Just behind that, Claessens, the quickest of the lot, doing a 1:43.9. So Claessens got the pace. Bashir Jadwat now having a look down the inside here. Is he going to be able to do it? Oh, they squeeze and they touch. He blocks Claessens, and I think Abschmeyer, they did push him quite hard. Abschmeyer has a lunge down the inside, all the way wide and into the wall. Two cars spin out. Cuddly gets connected, and for the first time, Jadwat is the one that comes out of this not the loser in a situation like that. What a strange turn of events. Jason Webb takes advantage of all the carnage and is now up to 5th position with Basson and Abschmeyer right in front of him.
Well, that one little incident cost a couple of guys places, and obviously, if people have joined us late, we've lost the Sherrod brothers who joined from the leader. So
Basson getting under a lot of pressure there from Claessens, Marius. The same spot, but this time a clean overtake around the outside by Claessens there. Basson under a lot of pressure now from Patterson and Versace as well. I think Basson also not having the same pace as some of these front-running guys.
But I think that's what's helped Jason gap Quade Claessens, because I think he managed to get past Basson, and that's given him a bit of breathing space, taking Quade a little bit longer. But I expect Quade to be all over the back of Jason in no time, because he is super fast. He was running right up there. So, I think we're going to see a race in probably about a lap or two between those two. Kieran Patterson was flashing him on the exit of turn 1 when he came under braking between the two of them. So he's obviously going to have made a mistake there. So that's quite frustrating, because you've got to do all the hard work all over again. Listen, Kieran's going to try and hang around the outside of Bassonia, and he's got it right. So that's brilliant. And the Audi's having a look as well. A little contact there, opening the door for Honor for Saki too. So making the most of that opportunity. And isn't it funny? That's how often happens, Taz? You know, in that little battle, if you're right behind, that little contact gives you end up not losing one place, but 2 or 3. So that's what's happened to Basson there now. So that's opened things up big time. But yeah, I wonder what happened to Morgan.
But Jason Webb and Claessens this time much closer than early on, right on the bumper of Webb. He could have the slipstream here. Jason's going to have to go defensive into the first corner, or will he? So far, so good. Both of them pretty much the same speed. This time he's in the slipstream. You can see the speed now as they go into the first corner. Jason goes defensive into the first corner. He's going to keep it tight. Charles going to try and do, Quade's going to try and do the undercut now. It's not working.
Well done. That was well done. He actually nailed that exit, even though he went defensive. That's brilliant. I think that's pretty much done. There's no other place for me on the circuit where Quade can get the move done. So hats off. Brilliant driving by Jason Webb. Fantastic.
So far, so good. It's not over yet. I'm still nervously watching on here. They've still got about half a lap or so to go. And as I said, I know these guys, both of them quite well. They've raced together just this week, and both of them are exceptionally competitive and fast. But so no love lost here between these two that know each other. As we now look on at Zahir Essa coming towards the final corner. He's got some cars in front of him. He's not going to be too bothered about that. Jason makes a mistake further back through the S's there, but it's still okay. He's still in front. But the winner of your 80K Pro Series Pro Division is none other than Zahir Essa. Across the line he goes, takes another win in what looks like a runaway season for Zahir Essa. The man who's got single-seater racing experience has done it again. And Bashir Jadwat taking up second place. Cross the line, and Quay Claessens has a look down the outside. Jason Webb tries to close the door. What's going to happen? This is a race to the finish. The second again. We've got another car coming into the mix over there. Patterson in the mix over there. Into the final corner we go now, guys. This is for position. 5th place in with Quay Claessens over here. Jason Webb in 4th. Webb gets it. But Kadile goes unnoticed in 3rd position there. Well done to him, bringing the first of the Mercedes-Benz home. What a race, what a race.
What does it take to win? Is it something you're born with? Is it the grind? Every day. Gear up. Do battle. For the 10,000th time. Or is it pushing to your absolute limits? To be faster. Always faster. Insanely precise. Totally free and at one with the game. Or maybe it's just getting to that place where nothing else matters. Nothing in the way of winning.
my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me in. Don't play that. Say you got them, say that. Money, me, $2. Telling you now to pay that. Fuck that. Ask him now, what's say that. I've been going to the top and I gonna tell you what I did and they twisting their words till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move, I'm a cold. So finally back in my home. I'm working after the start of this late to go. Can we have one later on? So it'll be just about all in, can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great strap, an almost banging wheel.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.
Don't get greedy now, mate. Let's go. Settle down.
Welcome back, folks, to round 9 of the ATK Pro Series. And if you've been watching the previous 8 rounds, you know that you can expect an action-packed day today, but no more than today because, ladies and gentlemen, we are down under for the Bathurst round of the ATK Pro Series, of course, brought to you by Kyalami 9 Hour and Motorsport South Africa. And this week, our sponsors include AMD, Elgato, and Logitech. Now, today's schedule starts at around 1 o'clock. We're going to be starting with the ProAM guys shortly. And then straight after that, we're going to be watching the Formula One with you guys. You guys will be enjoying the Formula One today. And then we'll be back at 5 o'clock for the Pro race. Now, to decide which drivers fit into which categories, drivers were doing a seeding run yesterday, and they've now been categorized into Pro-Am and Pro Class. As we said, the Pro-Am will be starting shortly, but before that kicks off, I'm going to introduce you guys to the rest of the team here. And first, of course, we'll start off with the man, Marius Roberts, because I know, Marius, this is one of those tracks where you are going to be giving us all the trivia, the Mount Panorama.
But this is just one of those unbelievable circuits. I've actually mentioned this a few times, Ernest, over our 8 previous rounds when we sit and talk about drivers and what makes the racetrack. And the guys that we've chatted to, pro drivers that were competing at Kyalami 9 Hour last year, this circuit is in every driver's top 3. By nature, it's a street circuit. So, you know, when there's no racing every day of the week, people are driving this as their daily commute home. I mean, a lot of the properties you can only access via what is Mount Panorama Circuit. So it's a street course with some unbelievable views, massive elevation changes. And this, for me, I think is a real test because the risk versus reward for a driver here is at its highest. I mean, one little mistake, there is no runoff. You've got 2 very long straights, the Conrad Straight at nearly 2 kilometers and the Forest Straight, which is 1.1. So the guys with good top end will obviously make some massive benefits here, but you've still got to be able to get the car through the twisty section and over the mountain, and that is where it's really, really technical. I love the circuit. I mean, it's cool because, you know, in 2 weeks' time when we go to the next round, we're at Suzuka, another fantastic driver circuit. So I'm glad we're leaving it till now because hopefully, especially for the Pro-Am guys, that they're kind of in the zone. They've got familiar with racing, and they to start with something like Bathurst would be carnage. So I'm hoping that the drivers are going to be able to handle what is a unique challenge.
You know, getting to know these drivers over the last couple of months has put me in a position where I do still enjoy a little bit of motorsport carnage like anybody else, but there's stories attached to each of these guys. They've all put so much work in. And as you say, Marius, if this had happened in round 1, we might have had some problems. Hopefully today, we're going to see the guys a bit more prepared. Now, I've spoken to some of the drivers, and you have to practice the circuit because it's wall-to-wall racing, side to side, all the way through the mountain.
But you see, it's also, Ernest, that's what's so critical. I mean, when we were chatting with Taz, even at circuits like Barcelona, there are traditional places for overtaking, and that's the same here. So a lot of the time, you don't want to be impatient at Bathurst because, especially when you're going over the mountain, it's about following the driver. There aren't many opportunities for overtaking there, but then you've got the straights and you've got other places where you can make the pass down. So I think that is what's critical at a circuit like this, is knowing when to make the move and making sure you're in the right position to make that move when the time is right. And that's critical. So I hope the guys realize that. I mean, 2 years ago, Bathurst 12 Hour was an amazing move in a really unexpected place for the victory for Porsche. And so you don't normally see those sort of moves up top there. So it really is follow my leader. And I think that's what also makes it a difficult track to get everything perfect, to actually put every single sector together. It's 6.2 Ks long, you know, to actually nail every single corner is really, really hard. But I'm looking forward to some fantastic racing. I know the pros are and for this. I'm quite interested to see which car is going to work best year. We know if you go back to what I call BC, before COVID, we actually had a proper race here, which was the Bathurst 12-hour. It was the start of the Intercontinental GT Challenge, and that was won by Jordan Pepper and the Bentley Racing team. So we know the Bentley runs well here. And just looking at that seeding run from yesterday, there we have it. A guy like Jason Isherwood, we haven't seen much of mid-season, is now qualified for Pro. I think it's his first time in Pro, probably in the Bentley. Richard van Colle is there in the Bentley as well. So what we saw in the real world seems to be relating to Assetto Corsa as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. The Mercs are up there as well. Jason Webb and Bruno Cadile done a great race pace. So let's see how that turns out when it comes to qualifying later.
Yeah, we've got the seedings now up on the screen. And as you said, a couple of surprises there. And the Bentleys, definitely some of the biggest surprises. Richard van Colle up as high as 14th position. I mean, he must be so happy with that result.
Yeah, because we'd normally see Richard as well as Jason Isherwood and the Bentleys in the Pro-Am field. So the fact they've qualified up there says a lot, because it's a technical circuit. But I think what might also happen here is it's not a circuit that most of the guys go and spend time playing. There are a lot of other tracks that they spend time as they go to, like Barcelona and those sort of circuits. So the guys know. Kyalami, everyone knows. So I think that's what you're seeing here. It's like in real racing, when we go to Zwartkops, everyone's on pace at Zwartkops because, bloody hell, Zwartkops is every single day. On a Wednesday, you're practicing, and every Saturday, there's a race. Then you go to Pekisa and you go to East London, circuits that require some serious balls and commitment, and that's where you see the big difference, because the guys don't get to spend enough time on those circuits. Obviously, this is simulator, so the guy can make sure he spends enough time on the circuit, because he doesn't have to fly down under to do it. But I don't think it's historically a track that guys say, hey, let's go and play. They always end up going to the easier tracks, maybe, because it's better to learn the car setup and get your car working well on those circuits. This is going to be tricky, because yes, what setup do you go with? Because you need a car that can stop and turn and handle, and then you also need something with top end. So it's going to be a very tricky setup, I think.
Well, the Audis seem to be handling their setups quite nicely, with Rino Adriaanse, who we usually see further back in the grid in the Pro-Am category, right at the top. First seed in Pro-Am. He must be bursting at the seams with a real chance of victory here. The Audis seem to be doing well in the mountain, with Sherritt being the fastest in seeding yesterday in the Pro category and overall. Noor Hendricks with the Ferrari also in the mix there. Sean Mumford back down to Pro-Am. But the word on the street is that Sean Mumford is looking for a good result in the Pro-Am category with that Porsche. But how good is the Porsche in the mountains? Some people are saying some of these cars are suffering because they're turbocharged, and the cars that are normally aspirated like the Mercedes might be doing slightly better. If that's the case, I don't know, but it certainly does look like it.
Yeah, but you know what's funny then, because then you go look at Kyalami. I mean, Mount Panorama isn't higher than Johannesburg above sea level. I think the highest point here at the circuit is 900 and something above sea level, 980 above sea level. You're a lot higher in Johannesburg. So that throws that out of the water. But then again, we know that Assetto Corsa has some very bizarre balance of performance settings, where some cars really are favored at certain tracks and you don't expect them to be strong there. But from a real world perspective, the Audi is super strong here. It seems to have a good overall setup. It doesn't always have the best top end, but for me, the circuit isn't all about that. I think you've got to be able to be consistently quick over the mountain, and that's where the Audi seems to really benefit well. But like we said, Porsche in the real world has 1 year as well. Bentley won this year. Audi was in there with a shout. So it's going to be interesting to see how it equates into our virtual racing like we have today. But yeah, listen, you and I both said it's hard to read into what's happening during the seedings, but when I saw George Smith, that was a surprise for me, because I think every race he's been in pros, and now he's dropped down into Pro-Ams. And for a lot of the guys, maybe it is a type of circuit where you want that. You want to just have clean track ahead of you, not be flipping fighting. If you mid-pack in pros, I think it's going to be really hard over the mountain today. So maybe it might be a better option to race in Pro-Ams and score some points, because they're also going to score points here too, which is great. But I'm interested to see Corné Strauss, Leon LaRue is there, a lot of the usual suspects. And you mentioned about the Audis being strong. Craig Ecoat as well. He's been on a real solid charge of late.
Well, as you mentioned earlier, G. Max Smith is back. He took a bit of a break from the ATK Pro Series. He had some other stuff he was busy with, but now he is back, and I think he's just getting comfortable and getting sort of back into the swing of things. The level at the Pro Series is so high, and G. Max is notably fast usually, so I'm interested to see how he's going to do in the Pro-Am category and giving Reno and the rest of the guys a good run for their money. As you mentioned, another guy, notable, Corne Strauss. I'd love to see Corne Strauss get a solid result in the next couple of heats, and let's see how he does today, though.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, he's probably still smarting after, I think it was 2 rounds ago when he got given a time penalty and he thought it was a drive-through, and that ended up ruining what would have been a fantastic race. I think that was at the Nürburgring, if I remember correctly, and he would have scored maximum points. So, those are little silly mistakes that people have made. But we know that McLaren has been super fast. We had some doubts in terms of how it lives with its tires towards the end, and I think this is a sort of track that you can see some pretty heavy tire wear as well. So we know in the real world, the Bentley, even though it seems surprising, it's such a big car, generally runs quite well on its tires.
So the Bentley definitely is one of those cars that I'll be watching out for over the next couple of minutes. We're going to be going to an ad break shortly. And but before we do that, we're going to look at the season standings. And this championship has really been shuffled around quite a bit. But having said that, the man on the top spot, Zahir Essa, is certainly in a league of his own, or with more than 20 points clear. But you yourself have said, Marius, that as Murray Walker said himself, anything can happen, and it usually does. When it comes to motorsport, what are your thoughts on how the championship looks so far?
Yeah, what was interesting is that the guys from ATK put something on social media removing the 2 results. So as you know, the guys, 12 rounds, they can throw away their 2 worst results, and they actually did a little simulation of what it would look like. And as it currently stands, it actually helps Zahir even more. I think it just opens the gap even more for him, because he has been that super consistent. He's literally throwing away the worst is a third. But the problem is the other guys have got more than 2 bad results, and I think that is what is messing them up. Where they've had a good result, but whether it was an ESCOM issue or like Jordan, I mean, he's a nightmare. I mean, he should be way, way higher up there. Major issues with his network and bombing out, and so he really shouldn't be sitting down in 11th place. He should be fighting right up the top. But I hate to put a dampener on it, but I mean, for me, I don't think anybody can come close to Zahir for the championship anyway. I think what we're looking at here is pretty much first and second place secured in my opinion, and to the right guys too. They've been the guys that race after race, they've been at the top, always in the top 3, so I think the battle for me is going to be to see who ends up in 3rd place. I think that's where there's a cool little lineup. Bruno Cadillo done really, really well in a car that nobody thought would do well. From a racing perspective, the Merc is good at certain tracks. This is a big track, so it should suit the Merc. But that's good to see how well he's done in a car that isn't a favored car.
Yeah, definitely at this circuit, the Mercedes-Benz has proved very fast. Jason Webb currently running 2nd in the seeding. And through the mountain, the car is fantastically balanced with a lot of downforce. And then down the straights, it's actually 10 k's an hour faster than the Porsche in some instances. Yeah, that's a big jump. And I mean, Bathurst has got the mountain straight, the main straight, and the Conrad straight. So you've got 3 long straights that you're dealing with, giving the Merc finally an inkling of an advantage here. But back to the championship standings, I mean, as we mentioned, Bruno Cadillo is the man to watch for me, because he could get that 3rd place, and especially if he gets a good result today in the Mercedes-Benz, which I think he might, that could be the fight to watch in 3rd position. Further down, we see Leon Leroux and some of the guys from the Pro-Am category battling for points over here. But again, Marius, that top 3 for me is where it's at, and at least the battle for 3rd place.
Yeah, I think that is the battle for 3rd is going to be great. And I mean, the guys will start thinking like that now. It'll be interesting, after today's racing, when we have a chat to our top 3 finishers. Just interesting to see if they're starting to think about the rounds now, because now you don't want to make mistakes, especially if you've possibly had 2 bad rounds already. It's crucial that you score points. So I think there's a lot of that type of strategy that's going to come into it. The guys might change their approach, where it's, listen, we need to score points, as opposed to doing silly things and trying to go for wins. We've just got to secure. But I mean, have a look at the spacing there: 253, 250, 232, 228. And you start bringing in those 2 results that you've got to throw away. It makes it very, very interesting.
Yeah,
the battle up for 3rd.
Well, this championship certainly is going to be quite interesting as we round our way now to the final couple of rounds. Of course, today is Bathurst, but before we get to the action, we're going to be running a couple of ads, and we'll see you guys after those. And we are back, folks. This, of course, is the ATK Pro Series, and we are now going to be watching the ProAM category. These are some of the guys that qualified yesterday for the ProAM category. And, of course, we are at Mount Panorama, which is just a fantastic circuit. I do, however, think that we might have some issues here, Marius, with regard to some of the guys maybe playing a little bit of ping pong with the wall.
Yeah, it's not where you want to. I mean, I just remember watching the actual race beginning of this year, and it must have been 2 or 3 of the biggest accidents I've seen in a long time. I mean, right at the top, before they actually at the cuttings, before they start ducking down, I mean, we had cars actually getting airborne, riding up the Armco barrier and ending up kind of where the spectators stand. We had massive shunts because when it does go wrong, it goes wrong at speed and it goes wrong epic proportions, no runoff, nothing to slow you down. It's straight into walls or into barriers. So, yeah, there's no margin for error here. One little mistake, you're going to get punished.
And especially through, of course, the mountain section. I mean, through the mountain is where all the action happens. Some of the sections in the Porsches, I mean, I couldn't believe this when I saw the in-game footage this week. Some of the sections are flat out in the Porsches. It's sheer downforce, it's sheer speed that allows the car to thread its way from left to right without having to lift off. But the problem is, if you are out on your line, and you know this, Marius, you enter the corner half a meter out on the entrance, the rest of the section is messed up. Here, the rest of the section isn't just messed up. The car and the driver can be too.
Yeah, exactly. The driver and the car's messed up. I mean, that's what I was saying to you earlier about that patience, because you know, at the end of the day, there is you can't be offline here, especially through the mountain section. So what you got to do is just get on the back of that car and stick with them and wait for the right chance to make a move. But obviously in those type of situations too, that's where tire degradation comes into it, because you're running in very dirty air and you want downforce through the mountain section. You don't want to be flipping losing a front end. So it does. It makes it super, super tricky. But it's also very much a rhythm circuit. If you make one mistake through that section, it's hard to find your rhythm again. So that little mistake is going to actually just compound over the next 2 or 3 sweeps because everything is all linked.
Well, we saw Jason Abschmeyer there having a little bit of a moment coming onto the start-finish straight. And one of the other interesting things about the circuit is that the start and finish aren't on the same location.
Yeah.
You've got a rolling start, but when you actually finish the race, you finish on a different location. It's such a quirky circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, but listen, I mean, that's typical of Down Under. You know, they've always got to do things differently. You know, they can't just follow the norm. But yeah, that's it's just what makes it such a legendary track for me as well. And I mean, you spoke about Jason Abschmeyer. I mean, I never even realized that he was running in ProAms. I thought he had seeded for pros, and I mean, that's a big turn up because we know he should also be way higher up. He's had a couple of technical issues, some issues with steering that's seen him out of races, but yeah, he's a lot quicker than a Pro-Am driver. He's like top 5 pro driver, so I'm sure he's looking for a race win here today, nothing less.
I'm sure, and that's what we're going to see today. We're going to see a couple of guys that usually mix it up with the pros, now mixing it up with the Pro-Ams on a circuit. Oh, we just saw Abschmeyer touching the wall there on a circuit where touching the wall is a very real thing every single lap. You've got Abschmeyer in the mix. You've got G-Max Smith in the mix as well. And early on, we mentioned one of the other drivers, Lodgia, Mumford, all guys that have found reasonable success in the pro category are now mixing it up with the Pro-Am guys. And the Pro-Am guys are going to want to prove a point as well as Abschmeyer goes through what is known as the fastest corner in touring cars into the sweeping right-hander there, now into the hard left-hander here as he comes towards the end of the lap. He's currently on a solid pace, a bit faster than his previous lap, but that was an out lap though. He's currently running in 8th position. Bellingen goes into the top spot with the Lamborghini with a 2:02, which is a very solid time. Benjamin Lodgia in 2nd place. Let's see where Abschmeyer ends up 3rd position, pushed immediately down to 4th by Eco, who now also gets pushed down by Leon Leroux.
Wow, this is actually very interesting. The guys are going for it quite early on. It's an 18-minute qualifying run. So maybe they're just getting their banker laps in now. They'll take a little bit of a break and then hit it out again. But what you might also find, they're looking at this as perfect opportunity on race day to get into the zone, and they're probably going to try and do as many laps as they can because it is such a technical circuit to get right. But I'm loving the mix-up. Lamborghini, Aston Martin, Porsche, Audi. This is cool. This is what we love about Pro-Ams. You have a look there. I mean, how close Lodgia went to the wall there, because there's some places where you have to that is the line. So having that margin of error I spoke about earlier is just so crucial. A little mistake there and yeah, we're talking millimeters.
It's really quite beautiful to watch. Benjamin Lodgia now threading his way down the dipper, and that is one of the scariest sections in motorsport. What happens is the front of the car goes light, especially in a Porsche. Can you imagine? The Porsche's front end goes so light and the left front wheel drops away. And then what happens is there's no grip. So Benjamin Lodgia doing well to now currently be in 3rd position, and also on his way to going a bit faster on this lap. He's now 0.6 of a second up as he's on his way through the fastest corner in touring cars. As I say, top speed 269 kilometers an hour through that corner does Benjamin Lodgia go into the left-hander. One more corner under the Liqui Moly bridge over here, and then we'll see where Lodgia will end up.
Yeah, I love this part of the circuit because it does remind me of East London. If you have a look, it's actually quite a narrow circuit, little curbs and grass. There's no tarmac, no anything. So you make a mistake, you're going to get punished there. But there's obviously quite a bit of runoff too. But such a super fast and committed section. I mean, you missed the apex by a split there, and you are going to find yourself in big problems. Don't worry about what you see going there. This isn't Demolition Derby. The guys are taking a direct route into the pits. But obviously a couple of technical issues that we're busy working through. But yeah, it's a real challenging circuit for drivers, for cars, for spectators, because it's heart is in your throat the whole time.
In your throat the entire time, exactly. We should go to a technical screen now. We're just gonna. But while we do that, Marius, let's talk about the circuit, man. I mean, start, finish straight. You know. Hell corner.
Yeah.
If you call a corner hell corner, that means that some bad things may have happened there. Now, what I've heard is that there's a tree stump there, and if the bikers hit the tree stump, it's been known to be one of those places that can send you to a very, very bad place, hence the name. But for the tin top guys, we've got to be careful through that first corner. It's not a sharp hairpin, but it certainly is one of those corners where we need to get everybody through there safely.
Yeah, I think what also ends up happening, even during the race, and you'll see when they're trying to get their quali together, it's very easy to miss your break point for this. And that just pushes you a little bit wide. And the problem then is you've got a long straight. You've got a 1.1 kilometer straight after at the mountain straight. So the exit out of Hell Corner is crucial. So if you see anybody running wide, going a bit onto the dirt, they're going to be compromised the whole way down. So it's a great opportunity for overtaking before they get into Griffin's Bend. So those corners are actually, they look pretty straightforward. Well, it's a 90 left followed by another 90 left. How hard can they be? But they are crucial because of what they line up, that long straight. And I think there'll be a lot of overtaking opportunities for me after they come through the chase into Murray's Corner, getting it lined up for Hell Corner, and then you'll see passes down Mountain Straight. I think that's going to be probably where most of the passing will happen.
Yeah, the Mountain Straight for sure is where some of the passing will happen. Now, the first corner after Mountain Straight, Griffin's Bend.
Yeah, look, this is where the chaos starts. I mean, going through Griffin's Bend, you start heading up towards the cutting, and that's where you start the climb. So all of this bottom section we're talking about now is the flat part of the track. But then literally from Griffin's Bend, starting at the cutting, it's a very tight left, and you start the climb, the 900 and whatever 80 meters above sea level to get to the top.
Yeah, I don't think they can hear us. I don't think we're live. Are we? No. Nah, it's just a screen. I'm checking it out now.
Oh, I thought they were just technical screens.
I thought so too.
They must tell us that we're putting a technical screen up. We don't need to commentate. Is there anyone there? Shall I check?
The servers. Well, can you guys hear us? My QQ says he can hear me. Testing 1 2. Okay, so we are live by the sound of things. Yes. Thank you. Okay, so we are live. And let's get back to that conversation we were talking about earlier on with regard to the circuit. I was talking about Griffin's Bend earlier on. And that corner over there is, for me, in the car, one of the trickiest ones. I mean, I went around there earlier on in the week with one of the GT3 cars. And it's a tight right-hander, and the car doesn't want to turn into that right-hander. And I think a lot of guys are going to crash after the Mountain Straight.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, again, it comes down to nailing your break point, because you're sitting flat out for 1.1 kilometers, and then you're going into a very, very tight right-hander with no runoff because it's got the wall on the outside.
Yes.
So you really do need to be sweet and nail that. And what you might find a lot of guys doing, it's actually better just to maybe brake a little bit earlier and roll it through that corner just to make sure you get through safely, especially on that opening lap. But for me, I love the left hand that is the cutting, because then the chaos starts. You know, then you properly are in the super tube, and you start your climb. You start your climb to the top of the mountain before you hit Skyline. And Skyline was where we had the big accidents this year in the actual race, massive. Before they obviously with the section we're on now, where they're heading down into the Dipper and down to Forest Elbow, which is also crucial to get your drive out of here. But look, this is a long straight, and people think this is where the overtaking is going to happen. But you don't really see too much, because it's very hard for you to sit on the tail of the car through the twisty section that is the mountain pass. So if you're very good through there and you get good drive out of that final corner, you've got enough of a gap, because this is actually very, very fast. Very difficult to see passes here. This is an opportunity under braking here, because it's a heavy brake point. But for me, it's more the final corner in turn one where you get your best braking and overtaking opportunities under brakes. But I still think Mountain Straight is where the action is going to happen from an overtaking perspective.
I can't wait to see where the action's going to happen, because I think a lot of these guys are going to be pushing hard in certain sections and not pushing hard in other sections. Now, the mountain section certainly is one of those places where you want to take it a little bit easier. But after having spoken to some of the drivers, I found out that in these cars, if you're not at maximum commitment, then the car doesn't work as well, especially through that mountain section. So the guys are saying they can't really take it easy through there, because if they do, the car doesn't want to turn.
Ernest, I mean, I just think you've spent enough time in cars. It actually doesn't work like that. I think it's kind of you can't say, well, through here I'm going to back off and I'm going to chill, and through those corners I'm going to attack. I know it sounds great in theory, but I think you've kind of got to be in the zone I think maybe what it is there are certain places where you can take more of a chance, where you can push a little bit harder, and other places where, I get what you're saying, but it's so difficult to know what that is, because modulating what that performance, you see that
there's a big moment there into the wall and across the track there. And he was pushing hard, as you were saying. Eco does a big moment, goes back to the pits immediately, and this is what I think is going to happen for the rest.
Well, that is where two Audis nearly took each other out, teammates in the actual race. Because as you come over the top, it's a little bit of a left-hander, and if you're slightly off of your line, the rear end just snaps on you, and there's no opportunity to grab it back. Because there is no runoff, and then you've got a right-hander that comes up next. So if you get it wrong there, it usually always ends in tears. And that for me is a very technical part, because we spoke about getting the car set up right, because you want to be fast, but you've got to make sure the car can turn as well. And it's these sort of corners where you mentioned earlier, you'll see cars lifting wheels here, because these cars are so set up, and you've got such massive drops through some of the bends that the cars will lift wheel. Your setup here for me is super, super crucial. I've noticed we've also, obviously, with that technical problem, we've gone and done a full reset of qualifying. So those first laps we saw earlier in qualifying are scrapped, and looks like we're obviously starting quali again. So these are new runs at all of it. So whatever the guys saw earlier, scrap that. This is what counts now.
Yeah, George G-Max Smith now on the top spot with a 203. Jason Abschmeyer just behind him, but obviously this is still the guy sort of getting into the rhythm. Unfortunately, we had some issues there. Even I thought that we were cut off. The issues extended a little bit, but we are back, folks, and we are racing now once again. This is, of course, the ATK Pro Series, and this is the Pro-Am category. As we go on board now with Leon Leroux in the Aston Martin, fast down the dipper now. This left-hander, as we were talking about earlier, the wheel tends to get airborne through the right-hander, and then now into the final section here before the very long and fast back straight. As mentioned, one of the fastest corners in all of motorsport coming up now as Leon Leroux starts to get on the power, flat out now into fifth gear. He's about to go. There we go. Fifth gear. Now into sixth. Let's check his top speed here. Earlier on we saw the guys were doing 270 k's an hour. That's Leon Leroux now coming up towards that right-hander.
Yeah, I mean, that commitment. And what I love, obviously they've put a bit of extra tar on the left-hand side, so you'll see the drivers actually using every single bit of that circuit on the outside of the white line to kind of straight line that fast right-hander as much as possible. But again, there you're slightly off the apex and you're in big trouble, because it is actually quite narrow, and then you're onto the grass while you're trying to stop the car for what is a very heavy braking point for the left-hander. So yeah, it's a fantastic circuit.
Look at that car. They're so good looking, but not just good looking, also the fastest car on the circuit so far. 202 for Leon Leroux over there. 202 for Leon Leroux. Jason Abschmeyer in third position at the moment, and the man they call G-Max in second, and he's really happy to be in the mix. I know he's quite passionate about motorsport.
Yeah, the funny thing is, we talk about that Aston. It's not necessarily the fastest car in a straight line, yet it's sitting provisionally pole. Jason's just gone and pipped him now with a 2.2. But I think it's a car you don't mind being in because it's such a good handling car. Everyone raves about how balanced the Aston Martin is, and I think for me, I would kind of want to have balanced. If I think there's a 50-minute race coming up, I'd rather sacrifice a bit of top end just to make sure I can survive this. I mean, here we go. Have a look at that through the cutting, and now the climb starts. It is unbelievable. And this is a roller coaster. I mean, you've got to have a car that's handling on rails. So easy to make a little mistake, take a bit of curb where you shouldn't take curb, and that just straight lines the car into the wall. So this is super, super commitment. Brilliant.
Right up against the wall is Van der Jabé. 0.2 of a second up, fully committed through the section now. And this is that very dangerous section we were talking about earlier on, Marius, where they've got to get this just right here now. Down on the downhill section over here, and he is right up against the wall. Van der Jabé on the limit here, 0.3 of a second up so far, and that will slide him into the top 5 if he can finish this lap. 0.4 of a second now.
And now he's coming to the part that suits the Merc. So he's done flipping well through the mountain section, which I don't think is where the Merc's going to have its real strength. It's in the straights where he's going to really dominate. So if he's 4 seconds, 0.4 up, I mean, this is going to be a pole lap because there's nothing really too technical left now. He's just got to keep it focused. Look at that, taking all the track that he can. This is going to be a pole lap.
Let's see, he's 0.5 seconds at the moment up. Van der Jabé on the limit. He lost a little bit of time through that final section now under the Liqui Bridge into the last left-hander. There will be an improvement, but what will that improvement look like? Currently, Werner Joubert in 6th place with the top spot. Jason Abschmeyer on a 202. Werner goes 4th position. Wow. He goes 4th position. Well done.
I mean, I don't know. I saw him on the exit of the chase, taking a lot of curb out of that left hand. I don't know if that upset him in the run up to the final corner. But wow, that surprised me, because having a 0.5 of a second lead over the mountain in a Merc, he should have smashed it through this section. But have a look, he's dropped. Werner sitting in 4th.
Sean Mumford also looking good at the moment. Sean Mumford currently up 0.6 of a second now, and he's in 5th position. Mentioned earlier that he's really in it with a chance to do well here today. And Sean Mumford, eye on the prize here into the final corner. Another one that's going to get up on the standings across the finish line. Into 3rd position goes Sean Mumford.
That was quite interesting watching that, because he literally had his right wheels on the grass under braking, and for me it looked like he ran a little bit wide on the first part of that entry into the final corner, but still managed to keep it on track and got fairly good drive out of it. So the guys really are exploring every single inch of this track to maximize the best lap time.
Yeah, they absolutely have to. I mean, the level is so high. Benjamin Lodger now coming through into 2nd position. But still 0.3 of a second off your man Jason Abschmeyer. I mean, Abschmeyer doing really well. Bellingham early on was one of the quickest, and the Lamborghini lately hasn't been doing too badly. He's really getting noticed in this Lamborghini, is Aldo Bellingham.
Yeah, listen, we had quite a joke 2 weeks ago.
Oh, he goes third. Buddy.
This is good. Yeah, listen, we had a good laugh on social media as well. I think in our post race interview, you and I were commenting on looks that it must be something in the water, but yeah, he's obviously not minding the water down under either, because that's a good lap time in the Lamborghini. But just thinking, for a guy like Jason, usually in pros, finding himself in ProAM, what is crucial is to be on the front row, because what you don't want to be is involved mid-pack here, going over the top of the mountain, because that's where it's very easy to get clattered in accidents, stuff that you're not really causing, mistakes that you're not making, but it's going to be busy through here. So I think for him, he's got to be on the front. That was very close to the wall for Benjamin.
I saw a little bit of rubbing there from Benjamin Lodge. I'm sure I saw that car move as he came close to the wall. Does it again. This time connected a bit harder, and maybe no damage. I'm looking at...
That's lap time done though, because I mean, clipping that wall in the exit and seeing the actual movement on board like we did, that's just going to kill his top end completely. And I think he's got one of maybe you get away with one, and that's what this track's going to give you. One little mistake like that, you're not going to get another chance at it. But I'm having a look at how much curb guys are taking. Some of the guys are already taking the curb on that left-hander. Benjamin not. For me, it feels like you don't really want to take the curb there, because it seems to push you a little bit wide on the exit before the right-hander. So nice to see a couple of different lines. Who's got the best one? We'll see at the end of our qualifying session with just under 9 minutes to go.
Yeah, we're going to find out now. Lodger did improve his time, but still running in 2nd position, even after all that drama. Jason Abschmeyer now the man to watch in 1st position. He is 1/10 of a second, or just under 2/10 of a second ahead of Lodger. Jason Abschmeyer, the man usually mixing it up with the pro guys, now going through the mountain, gets it quite sideways there through the tight left-hander. And on the uphill section, I just look at that elevation from our eye in the sky there. I mean, the elevation change on this track is just unreal.
No, well, I mean, if you are seeing it in a simulator, trust me, wait until you get there for real. I mean, we had that at the Neuschleife. I mean, everyone's gone and driven lap after lap on simulators, and whether it's a set of course or PlayStation, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And then you get there, you go, oh, wow. Okay, because it just, I mean, cameras always flatten things out. But when you get there, you just actually cannot believe it. And that's the same thing here. I mean, it's unbelievably dramatic, the way the cars have to drop and climb. And just to get the car to stop and turn even. It's unbelievable, the commitment that this circuit takes. I can see why every top racing driver, this is one of their favorite tracks.
Yeah, I had... couple of conversations with Mika Salo a few years ago. He won India in a 458 GT3, and he told me driving this, I mean, this is someone that's driven Ferrari Formula 1 cars, and he was telling me that driving this circuit at night was one of his most memorable motoring experiences. I mean, it's one of those places where you have to, as a driver, go to the zone. because that's the only thing that's going to get you through total darkness and that flippin' mountain section. It's just so daunting, though, isn't it? Even the Nordschleife allows for a couple of mistakes here and there. I think the mountain section just punishes any lesser driver behavior.
You see, I think the thing is, I mean, you're talking 6 kilometers versus 18 as a scenario, you know. So where the Nordschleife, it just doesn't stop. You know, and I think it's more a case of concentrating for that longer lap to nail it. But you're right. You know, once you get into the climb here to the top and down the other side, it's fully committed. I mean, that's like you've really got to get yourself. Maybe that's what this little mountain straight is for you just to really realign, get your focus, make sure the harness is tight before you.
Exactly. Definitely tightening those harnesses as we now go on board with Jason Abschmeyer. He's 0.3 of a second up at the moment. This section through here is absolutely flat out. He does breathe off the gas a little bit for the rest of the time, though. He is absolutely nailed to the floor here. Total commitment as he comes through there, right up against that wall. Jason Abschmeyer looking really good so far.
See, that is tricky for me. That little section, it's a little down drop. It's a left-hander into another left-hander, and there's a bit of a drop in elevation. And that's where the rear end of the car can easily get unsettled through there. So Jason's certainly nailing it through there perfectly. A little back marker possibly getting in his way, but it looks like he's on it. Making a mistake. Wall.
Makes a tiny mistake, and that's it. He makes a tiny mistake, and the car is now parked with severe damage. Yeah. And that's how it goes. And that is the story of the circuit.
But you see, that's also for me what's still a little bit frustrating. We said right in the beginning when I first started doing this commentary, the first time I've ever done anything with virtual racing, was that I would love to see qualifying run like it is for real. Because that mistake, that's the end of qualifying. He sits out. You know what I mean? Because the car's never going to get back. They can't get the trailer to go and fetch the car on the other side of the track. So that's your qualifying done. And that amount of pressure for a driver going into a qualifying session is paramount. It's monumental for them because, if they make a mistake, quick reboot into the pits and off he goes again. Whereas in the real world, that mistake would have been, that's him, qualifying done.
That's catastrophic. And that, another one. We're looking now at George Smith.
Yeah.
And George Smith there, unfortunately, collecting the wall in similar fashion, not quite as hard. The car might have some damage. And I was also discussing this with the drivers earlier. And actually, Sean Mumford was one of the guys I was chatting to about this. How much damage causes how much
contact causes damage. Yeah,
exactly. So sometimes you got severe damage which might affect the engine. Sometimes you got minor damage which might affect the aero, and drivers are going to have to make that decision, because I think damage for most of the guys, or not most but a lot of the guys, is going to be inevitable. So you're going to make the call: am I going to drive with this damage as is, or am I going to pull into the pits and get it fixed up? And that's another factor that guys are having to take into account here at the Mount.
Yeah, I see what makes it tricky too. I mean, if there's damage to aero, what is that going to do to tire wear? Because, sure, you're going to feel that maybe you've now dealing with understeer, which makes it a bit of a mission to get this car turned. But what is that doing to your tire wear? Are you wearing, so many factors that have to that come into it. But I would really love to see them up the ante next year with this. If qualifying is run like it is in the real world, you've got to go out, you've got to get your qualifying run nailed. A mistake like that, cheers, goodbye. Because I think that would also change things, because you have a look like now we get in the pros, Zairi's there, you make a little mistake and you go again. But that little mistake might have cost him qualifying, and he ends up qualifying in 12th.
Yeah, indeed.
And how does that then affect his race? So it really changes the way you focus, because a racing driver arriving here for a race, his qualifying is crucial. Like in the 12-hour, they're sitting running with teammates, and like, okay, so is it going to be Jordan, or who's going to be doing the qualifying for Bentley? And it's like that guy's got the responsibility of the entire team to get this car back. One little mistake and the team starting from the back. And that is what I'd like to see here, because it really changes the dynamic of the approach to qualifying, and changes what we see the usual suspects in qualifying sitting at the top, because they're normally the guys that are also pushing the hardest and making those little mistakes, and they know they can fix it on the next lap.
Sorry to interrupt you there. I just literally held my breath as Jabir makes his way through the mountain.
I think this is a good place for me to interrupt and maybe, just lend my opinion on what Maurice was talking about there with the, qualifying mimicking the real life situation. And, like a lot of times, in sim racing, we can only work with as much realism as the game puts in. Like, for example, we can only police what the game allows us to police. In terms of, I mean, if there's an incident, we can review the replay, for example. So in qualifying, when to mimic that real life situation, you know, we need to consider how would we police that? How do we ensure that somebody doesn't exit back to the pits without looking in the background? So that's why we generally in sim racing we will go with what the game or simulator allows us to control.
Jonathan, I get that, but I'm talking not about Pro Series. I'm talking about Assetto Corsa. The whole idea is to take this is real racing. I mean, that is what the byline is here.
Yeah.
So for me, that should be something that is set in the game as a control. So if you want to muck around and you're playing and you're practicing, no problem, reboot. But if you're running a series like ATK is doing, there should be a setting that you have contact like that, the car can't be escaped. It's got to be driven back to the pits. If it can't be driven back to the pits, your qualifying is automatically done.
But how's this? Like, as far as I'm aware, there is going to be a feature in the future where you can set a Super Pole qualifying, which, I mean, you only have one lap and then you're done.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it is something that maybe we should speak to Kunos about. But I mean, so that's from our standpoint why we would probably not introduce something like that unless it was policeable.
Yeah. It's just a change. I mean, the Super Pole for me, sure, I get it. But I still prefer a good qualifying where you go out, you set a benchmark time, you come in, make some changes, and then you have another run at it, pretty much like they do in Formula One, I suppose. But it really does change the psyche of the driver. Whereas, you can go hold the leather, smash it into the wall, no problem. 30 seconds later, you're on another lap.
It is always fascinating to me how those real-world drivers can hit that time, you know, on demand, because that's exactly what they're doing.
But that's exactly it.
Yeah, it's look, I mean, we're sitting and debating little technical issues. I mean, it doesn't detract from the racing per se, but I really do think what I was mentioning to Ernest, you're going to have a very different lineup on your grid when you introduce stuff like that, because you're not going to have the usual suspects qualifying up the top, because one little mistake is going to cost them, you know. So that's what I'd like to see. And then your championship looks very different, because suddenly your super fast guys, some races are going to be way back in the grid, having to work their way through the crowd. And you know that's never easy being mid-pack.
Well, one of the guys that certainly is not mid-pack today is Jason Abschmeyer, who will be making his way towards the finish line. About the same pace at the moment, a little bit up, but nobody else is showing any sort of threat as Abschmeyer makes his way towards the finish line. Folks, that is what your qualifying for the Pro-Am looks like. We'll be right back for the race after this. Ladies and gentlemen, it is happening. 50 minutes of GT3 racing in Bathurst, Mount Panorama. Oh, just saying that name gets me excited because, I'm a fan of motorsport, but I am not going to lie. Everybody likes watching cars crash. Now, I'm not saying I want these guys to crash, Marius. Hear me out. All I'm saying is that I like a little bit of action, and I think we are going to see some action today.
I'm hearing you out, and I'm with you 100% because I can tell you what, not just as commentators and spectators, but for the drivers too, they love a circuit where there is maximum risk, where they are on the knife's edge. That is what brings out the best in them. I've used the term a few times already today. Risk versus reward is at its highest at a circuit like Bathurst. And that is why this is the ultimate test for man and machine. It's one of those circuits that you really have to be in the zone. Not lucky, not one or two good laps, consistently on it for 50 minutes. One little lapse in concentration, goodbye. You're in the wall.
Yeah.
That's what makes it a great track.
Sure. As a fan, I am literally sitting on the edge of my seat here right now. We've got Abschmeyer heading us off. Our pole sitter next to him, Benjamin Lodger, who won in Hungary at the last event. Werner Joubert flying through the mountain into third position in that Mercedes-Benz again. I think the Mercs are going to do well today. I think Werner Joubert, the play there would more than likely be to let this car do the work on the straights, because we've heard that the Mercedes-Benz is as fast as 10 kilometers an hour faster than the other cars. So it's going to be an interesting mix today as we look at the top 10 and see a whole bunch of manufacturers vying for position there.
Yeah, listen, this is going to be very, very tricky, because like I said to you earlier, Jason Abschmeyer is not a person you normally hear us talking about in Pro-Am. So, I mean, he's a top 5 pro driver. What's crucial here is in the Pro-Ams, he's done what he needs to do, put it on pole. But this is where you want to be here. You don't want to be mid-pack, heading through the cutting and starting the first climb over the top, because there is going to be carnage. There's going to be chaos. So, yeah, it's important that he gets a good start. Because it's a very, very tricky circuit. And I think it's very easy to get cluttered and collected by others. You mentioned during qualifying, the turn one, the first turn, Hell Corner, is also super, super tricky, because under starting orders, everyone's going to be super fired up to get as many positions done and make those little late lunges. And that's not really what you want to be doing at the start. Just get through turn one, deal with the 1.1 kilometer mountain straight, and then focus to get over the mountain and just complete a lap. You've got 50 minutes, lots of racing to come.
Lots of racing to come. And I'm looking at the map of the circuit now. It certainly is one of those circuits where high risk in so very many places. It's got one of the fastest corners in motorsport. At the back end, you've got the mountain section. You've got, as you mentioned earlier on, that very tricky skyline section, but that's not the only tricky section in the mountain. There's so many corners now. Let's go through some of those sections as we go into the first corner. This is, of course, Hell Corner. And the guys are going to try and make it through there without much issue. Hopefully, nobody outbreaks themselves into that corner. And the guys would have practiced that over the last couple of days. Now they make their way down the very long mountain straight. And a perfect opportunity for overtaking, which exists at the end by Griffin's Bend.
Yeah, I mentioned it during qualifying too. The tricky thing for me with Hell Corner is it's so easy to run a little bit wide and put a wheel on the dirt. And that might not be the end of the world for your lap. But in a race like this with a 1.1 kilometer straight coming up, you're going to be in big problems, because that's just going to compromise your drive down the straight. So the guys need to be very, very aware of nailing their drive out of it. This is the corner you spoke about, Griffith's Corner. I mean, literally full commitment. They've given you a bit of extra curb. You're going to take curb. There's a bit of tar. But then have a look at that Marshall Point where the barrier juts out again. So take too much curb, get the car into a bit of a slide, and you are collecting that wall. There's no two ways around it.
This section over here, the cutting, there's a groove that exists on the inside of that corner, and a lot of drivers are going to want to take that groove. But again, there's so many sections where mistakes can happen. And this year, one of my favorite sections, Quarry Corner over here. And from the BP Ultimate sign over there, drivers are absolutely flat out, especially the Porsche drivers. A couple of breaths off the gas here and there, but the Porsche is able to take this section completely pinned in qualifying trim. So it's really going to be interesting to see what will happen as they make their way through that section later on.
You know what's so cool, Ernest? I mean, as you were talking there, that camera angle was great because you see this roll over the hill. The track then is dropping to one side, so you've got so much off-camber stuff going on, and that is the greatest way to unsettle a car. And that's what happens through Skyline, because you come over that, there's a left-hander into another left-hander. Any little movement or twitch on the rear end, you're going to be fighting your way trying to control that car, and there's then no runoff. It's fine if you've got a huge area to play with. It's very easy to go and catch the car, but like all of this, it's off-camber stuff.
Man.
You've got to have your setup so spot on for the car.
That makes my stomach turn as we watch them go through the dipper over there, and the last couple of turns before what they call Forest's elbow onto the very long Conrad Straight. And here, the Mercedes-Benz 10 kilometers an hour faster than the Porsche. Just unbelievable that finally the Mercedes-Benz team has its comeuppance.
Oh, well, I mean, Zahere's been saying the next circuits, like now, Bathurst, 2 weeks' time, we're at Suzuka. These are big circuits, and the big circuits suit the Merc. That's what he's saying. So now there's no more excuses. We spoke about the overall championship, Bruno Cadillo, those sort of guys sitting right up top there. So no excuses. They've got to get it done today. But in this race, we've got the usual suspects in terms of Porsche brands being right at the top. So, I'm hoping for a couple of changes.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that too. And now we go through this very, very fast sweep over here. As I said earlier on, I mentioned a few times, one of the fastest corners in motorsport. We're going to see guys go around there 270 k's an hour, but that's not the hard part. The hard part is stopping for the next left-hander.
Totally. I mean, it's all fun, all good and well if it's a flat-out corner, and then you've got another K to correct your car and change your underpants. But I mean, you've just held on to that. You've not got to get the car stopped and turned. Right? So good, so good. I said it's like the old East London circuit. I love it. Narrow, no runoff, grass, no tarmac area. Proper old school circuit. I mean, I think it's the 1930s was when this was set up, and it's not a circuit, it's a street circuit, because the guys drive to work on this when they're not racing.
Only in Australia, only in New South Wales is we will find the famous Mount Panorama. As we now go around the final corner before the start-finish straight, we are about to go racing, folks. Remember, the start-finish straight doesn't exist on the same part as the finish line. They're about to hit it any second now. Ooh, here we go. We have green flag racing. Abschmeyer losing out there. He's the big loser. Lodger in first position around the outside, cuts him off and gets the position. Bellingham makes it through safely. So does Ecote, LaRue, and the rest of the grid. All of them through the first corner safely. I'm very glad to see that happen. We have green flag racing as we make our way now on board with Lodger.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. We weren't really overboard. That overhead shot shows a lot of the times the guy in pole sits too far back in the box. It looks like Jason did it that time. He hasn't led out a race this season, but Benjamin absolutely nailed it. Got the jump on him and the lead into turn one, and that is what you want. He can now focus on his rhythm. You don't have to run.
Rodgers ran wide into the wall there, Marius.
Oh, my word. As I'm saying, he can now focus. He doesn't have to look in his mirrors. He goes and puts it in the wall.
Just got the screen over here. And Lodger made a big mistake. I hope we can get onto him.
That was in the cuttings, I think. I think that's where he got that wrong. And he's obviously dropped way down. He's in third now on this, but I think he's going to go further back.
Oh no, Benjamin Lodger. As Bellingham also runs wide there. I think there might be a problem with the standings. Lodger looks like he's actually right up front.
No, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here and where did Mumford come from. So I think they've got this very wrong. There are replays coming our way, and then we'll be able to figure out who's in the view here. Yeah. But this looks like the usual suspects. I think maybe it is Mumford that's gone, because I've got Bellingham is still there. I've got Jason in fourth, which isn't the case. Lodger's
got damage. Lodger's got damage. His car is absolutely slowing down. He's going backward at the moment, Marius. He was in first position. It is confirmed over here, and he's now getting overtaken by Bellingham as well, who's having a look down the inside there as they come towards the fast sweeping right-hander. Bellingham takes him there into the braking zone. Lodger tries to fight back, but his car is damaged. He takes the inside line. Bellingham runs wide. Lodger holds the position, but for how much longer?
Yeah, listen, I mean, so we've got our scoring sorted out now, so everyone's in the right order. But yeah, big damage there for sure, because I thought how easy did Jason get past him coming out of the final turn onto that long back straight. He drove right past him, so looks like he's got some problems trying to get that car turned. Maybe even wheel alignment sitting out, which is going to really compromise him down the straight. But nice to see. I just want to say a round of applause to our ProAM drivers, because this is a hell of a circuit. Maybe it's because of the intimidating nature of the track that the guys just up their game and know not to do stupid things and don't take chances where there aren't chances. Rather just wait, because this is brilliant. Everyone's gone through. We don't have any major issues, so well done to our ProAM drivers.
Yeah, they are really doing well here. All of them line astern perfectly behind each other. We are now on board with Werner Joubert coming up the hill here. He's got Eco in front, who's also done fantastic to get into fourth position. Bellingham there in third place. Lodge still in second, but for how much longer? I do suspect Lodge's got some very bad damage, but Werner Joubert doing well so far in fifth place with the Mercedes-Benz. He's going to want to bide his time. I'm sure he's going to catch up to the guys on the straight bits. But Eco for me so far also looking good. Oh, Noor Hendricks there right up against the wall as we cut to him. And the Mercedes in the wall. This is bad. Werner Joubert in the wall. And there's nothing. He gets collected by, oh no, that looks like one of the Ferraris touched him there. Lawrence hits him. Van Rooyen touches him as well.
in the wall too. So, I mean, this is what happens here. It's a comedy of errors, because there is no ways. As I complimented the drivers on doing a great job, we end up Leon LaRue's facing the wrong way. Have a look. He's got to try and turn around there, which is literally impossible to do. But Ernest, that's what happens. This for me isn't about the drivers doing silly things here. One driver makes a little mistake like that, and it's so easy for everyone to clutch because there's no runoff. You can't go left, you can't go right. He's going to bounce off the wall back into your line. And we had a perfect example of what makes Bathurst such an unforgiving circuit. One little mistake by Werner Joubert ends up collecting and costing a lot of other people their race. Well, we saw Leon LaRue literally facing the wrong way. I don't know how he's going to turn that car around there, because there is no place.
Sure, what a weird turn of events. Benjamin Lodge still in the fight here, even with what I think could be a slightly damaged car in second position. The front running guys not too badly affected by all of that, but Werner Joubert and backwards, unfortunately.
Check that gap now. I mean, it was interesting when you were talking about Lodger, and we both thought he'd be dropping, and then we saw that gap between Aldo, and we couldn't see second and first. So I was like, no, well then the car's obviously running fine, because they had opened up a big gap, and now there's a massive gap from Ecoach in fourth to Hendricks. So Noah Hendricks managed to navigate his way through all of that carnage. He was right behind Werner at that first point of contact. So I think he got lucky there in terms of avoiding it. But on board with Benjamin Lodge, having a good look at Jason Upschmeyer going through the climb, heading up to the skyline section where we had all the drama and the chaos. And here again, I mean, you can see the marks on the curbs. You can take curb here, but you've got to take the right curb at the right time, because anything that unsettles your car here has big problems. So this is where he ran wide, took a bit of grass here and put him into the wall. And then through this section here, it's blind for the other guys. Where do you go? How do you avoid everyone?
That's our replay down the bottom there, our lap one recap. I mean,
that was George Smith that we see sitting down there. I think he had a spin, because I see he's right down in 17th. So that must be a spin that he made. So that was definitely hard. Benjamin having a run at Jason and just outbraking himself. So that's given Jason the gap now. I mean, he's got a nice little breathing space, and it's opened up an opportunity for Aldo and the Lamborghini to get on the back of Benjamin. So that's our top four, and there's a big gap before we get to Noah Hendricks and the Ferrari in fifth.
But it's nice to see the top four guys having a bit of a tussle. We usually have one or two guys heading off into the distance and the rest having to fight it out. But the top four spots are now most certainly still available. And Benjamin Lodge now facing some pressure from Aldo Bellingham, who's also got Craig Eekhout on the charge. Eekhout definitely one of the guys to watch. He's proven that he's able to do really, really well by getting involved and getting in the mix there. I think we might have some more technical issues here, Marius. There we go. We're back. We've still got Abschmeyer there in the lead with Lodge behind him.
Ernest, you know what the cool thing is? I mean, we talk about like the risk versus reward in terms of running into walls and making mistakes. But it's also at what point do you time your moves? Because our Benjamin had a run at Jason, outbraked himself into the final turn. And all it did was murder him down that long back straight and gave the Lambo that's under massive pressure now from Ecoach a run at him. So it's like when you go for the move, you've got to make sure it's something that is doable. and something that's not going to compromise you on the bits that are fast. You know,
Indeed.
So difficult.
It's so important to choose your sacrifice when it comes to some of these corners here. And, I was speaking with some of the pro drivers this week. Some of them were, and some of the ProAM guys as well, were practicing those lines on the circuit because, like you say, to compromise yourself before a 2-kilometer long straight is exactly the wrong and the worst thing to do. So hopefully Benjamin... Oh no! Eco touches the wall there. That was Eco touching the wall ever so slightly and losing out. And that's all it takes, though, isn't it? That's all it takes. That's the kind of mistake that's could potentially cause some damage, and at least now gives Bellingham some breathing space to go chasing after Lodge again.
Oh, but you know that messes with your head though as well, because it's a big. This circuit is a confidence circuit, so you've got to have confidence in your ability. You've got to have confidence in what the car is doing underneath you. And a little mistake like that just makes you a little hesitant next time you go through. They're like, "Whew, I survived that one." So. Yeah. It really does play mind games with you, and that's what I love. I mean, even when you go to the actual Bathurst 12-hour race, when they do things so differently, they start in the dark, you know, so they finish at midday. But I mean, your first laps aren't in beautiful sunlight. It's kind of as the sun's coming up, you know. So it's like everything is about messing with
the Aussies,
eh? Yeah, it's about messing with your head, big time.
Yeah.
So. He got away with it that time, did Craig. I hope there's not too much damage. On board now with Corne Strauss. I love we're getting a bit of a power side on the power a little bit too early in that McLaren, which just gives Noah Hendricks a bit more breathing space. Looking at Eco just in front of us in that camera shot, car looks like it's still fine. Everything's pointing in the right direction.
We saw Noah Hendricks early on just avoiding all that drama on top of the hill. So he's still in the running top 5 at the moment for him, getting chased down here by the one and only Corne Strauss, a man that's been on our radar quite a bit, and hopefully today he can get a solid result. He's just trying to navigate his way through, and to finish first, you must first finish. Corne Strauss needs to... Corne Strauss probably needs to remember those words as he threads his way through the month.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed. I mean, besides that one little mistake, and that was literally... one guy makes an error and there's just nowhere to go for the rest of the drivers. I am super impressed with what the Pro-Am drivers have put together here, because that opening lap with 17, 18 cars on the grid is no easy thing to navigate. And they got through it all good, 1 or 2 little spins, but nothing serious. And they got through turn 1, which you were worried about as well. So this has been awesome. We've got nice little races throughout the field. Unfortunately, that little incident with our Merc driver really did mess things up a little bit because it split the field. But nice to see some battles. We're on board with Koenig in the Audi, and just ahead of him is Kershaw in the other Lamborghini. So that's a little battle that we can watch unfolding. But obviously the main one is up front, where the guys are all there and thereabouts, our top 3.
Yeah, Van der Joubert, the big loser in that tussle early on, of course, the one that started it all. He's now in 16th position after a visit to the pit lane. George G-Max Smith down in 15th. Jason van Rooyen also visiting the pit lane earlier on because of that incident. So a couple of guys getting collected there by some of those incidents. Now we're on board with Jason van Rooyen in the 888 Milk Ferrari. And he's now in 14th position with G-Max now behind him. These guys all know each other, so they'll still be having a fun little race further down the field. Jason Abschmeyer now in first place, getting chased down by Lodger. And behind him, we've also got Bellingham. Now, all of them lapping at similar paces. Very similar paces, in fact. And the gap's now starting to slowly grow a little bit bigger.
Ernest, that for me was that one little mistake that Benjamin made, has given Jason a little breathing space. And I don't want to do the commentator's curse thing, but that's one thing I've always enjoyed with Jason, watching him racing, sim racing, and then obviously also he's done a bit of stuff with us on circuit. He's a cool customer, so he's done everything he needs to do here. He's in front, 40 minutes to go in the race. Nobody's putting him under any pressure, so turn the mirrors in, boy, and just put in lap after lap after lap. This is a Sunday night practice session that he's done plenty of, and it's just putting lap together now because he really is under no pressure.
No pressure at all with Bellingham further back. Not on the same pace as him. Abschmeyer managed. Oh, Abschmeyer touches the wall there. Slight nick of the wall, and that's one that gets. Oh, again coming close to the wall this time. We're on board with him now.
I mustn't say anything because it's like commentating first. The minute I say, look how well the Pro-Am guys are doing this car, And then I tell him he's just got to take it easy. It's a practice run now. Poof, he goes and clips the wall. But listen, he's got a good gap. It's 3 seconds. I mean, that is massive. So they're both running in Porsche. So top end speed is going to be similar. But for Benjamin, he's getting no draft. He's too far back from Jason. So that's why I said Jason can turn his mirrors in. There's no one to worry about now. And same thing for Benjamin with Elder. The Lambo's nearly 3 seconds behind him as well. So no draft to worry about down the long straights. It's literally just about getting through the race now, and then the second part of the race will come to us again. We know how this normally happens. 10, 12 minutes to go, we're dealing with tire wear issues, and then the race comes alive again. So it's about the guys getting through this phase, not pushing too hard, not damaging tires, making sure you've got something left to race with 10 minutes to go at Mount Panorama.
Well, Benjamin Lodgia is 5 kilometers an hour slower down the big long straight, the 2 kilometer long straight over there. So he's definitely got a compromised car, but he's still in it though. He's still very much in it and pushing quite hard. So he's going to have to maximize the cornering bits and to try and make sure that he stays well within striking distance. Of course, today would not be possible without our sponsors. And you can see there, Corsair providing some comfortable chairs. Corsairs providing some comfortable chairs for our sim races out there and are now currently available at ATK Arena. I think I need to get one of those so that I can get a bit more comfy while commentating.
If you don't want to see how I'm sitting at the moment, I certainly do. At my ripe old age of 45, I might not get up after the race. But oh man, I'd love to be able to see what the damage is. Are you able? You can't get in, eh? You can't see what the damage is on Benjamin's car.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't see that. The drivers have an indicator there to tell them how many minutes damage or how many seconds damage they have. So what that means is they go to the pit lane or they go into the pits and now they've got to stay for an extra 45 seconds. But the game itself, the sim itself, doesn't tell you what exactly is damaged, like your left rear fender is bent and now your wing is not working properly. It does tell you, however, that you've got some left rear damage and your aero might be affected. So that's something the drivers have to figure out while they're driving the car. And Benjamin's now sitting in the car going, something's off. I'm not quite sure. The car feels a bit slower on the straights. I mean, he's the other guys are doing about 270 kilometers an hour, just under. Benjamin's doing low 260s through the fast sweep.
You see, now I'm trying to figure out, I'm not that I'm a mechanic, but I'm trying to figure out, so what could that damage be that is allowing him to still run through the twisty bits, but compromise his straight line speed? Because it seems
I would think it's something like a bumper that's maybe loose or something, you know what I mean? Something that's going to compromise your aero a little bit, and then it should be fine the rest of the way.
Yeah, but won't that, I mean, for me, your aero now is more critical through the twisty bits because that's where you want the downforce.
Yeah.
You know, you're not too worried about it if it's flapping around on the straight.
Yeah.
Because, it's just weird. You see, I'd love to know.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. And I was speaking to some of the drivers about this. I'd like to find out because if the sim doesn't give the information, then we need to figure that information out. And the only way to do that is to cause that damage, practice it with that damage. And I'm sure the car might also be pulling a bit left to right through the twisty sections, but it does look like Bellingham now is starting to close that gap ever so slightly. Bellingham now within striking distance, he's currently 0.3 of a second up on his own pace. So he is now starting to catch up with Benjamin Lodgia and get him well within eyesight and hopefully soon within striking distance.
Yeah, well picked up there, Ernest, because I mean, literally it was nearly 3 seconds. I think it was 2.5 the gap, and he's brought that down by just over a second, 1.2. So, yeah, listen, I mean, that's the other thing now, because we don't know, whatever, if he's sitting with a compromised car, what is that going to do to tire wear? Because I know if I go and have a little right fender damage or damage aero, that tire wear is going to be exaggerated in that section. Maybe there's rubbing on a tire, who knows? But that is going to be something that plays on the back of his mind for the rest of the race. Like, what type of car am I going to be left with 10 minutes to go? Will it have any tires? You know what I mean? So
exactly.
You don't know. And you know what? I love what you said. Like, you can go and try and practice it, but you can't. You're never going to have the same type of contact. You know, so
there's so many different variables as well.
Yeah, I guess the only way is they've spent enough time around this track. They've done enough laps to know what they're dealing with in terms of a compromised car. And I think the shout there is, I'm in second place. I'm in there. So let me go as far as I can go. If he ends up like 10 minutes ago and he's got an undrivable car, then it's go in, do a change and score as many points as you can. But I think it would have been silly in a 50-minute race to go and pull in and say, I've got damage, let's fix it. And he ends up never making up those positions again. So I think that's a strategy that he's going with here as well. But Aldo's definitely on the charge. He's brought that gap down to under a second. But he's got to see, now that's it. That's what I talk about, Hell Corner. You compromise yourself on the exit there. He's going to put wheels on the dirt, as you see Craig Eco doing the same in the background. That's going to kill your drive onto the straight. It's 1.1 kilometers. So that's longer than what we have at Kyalami. It's a proper straight before your Griffith Corner. So Aldo got compromised there big time, but he's brought it to within a second. So, yeah, I think there's going to be an overtake coming soon.
I think so too, or at least a battle. Now, what is Lodger going to do? Earlier on, Lodger fumbled on the opening lap and unfortunately put it into the wall ever so slightly. And that's what caused the damage, and that's what caused him now to drop down to second position from first after a fantastic start from him. Bellingham now chasing through the mountain, and he's got all the time in the world. I think he should be patient with this one and just sort of get there, get close, and start applying some pressure to Lodger, because pressure on the circuit is it's a pressure cooker out there, isn't it?
I'd love you to be talking straight into his ear, because that's exactly it. Don't go and do anything silly, Ernest. What you said is spot on, because we spoke about Benjamin's damage, so that's already playing on his mind. Now he's got a black Lamborghini filling up his mirrors, so now suddenly you're looking at mirrors, you're not watching where you're going. Oh, you make another little mistake, and it's chaos. So Aldo's doing the right thing here. Just be present. Just let him see that car and wait for the mistake to happen. But I think this Lambo's got some serious pace now because of the compromised straight line speed of that Porsche. But that's not the place to have a move. So he just sit tight here.
He did exactly that. The brake lights flashed there. Aldo Bellingham backed out a little bit there. He's much faster on the straight, as much as 15 kilometers an hour faster with that slipstream. So he's certainly able to have a look on the straight, but he knows that. Lodger knows that, and I think Lodger's Porsche definitely knows that.
You know what the tricky thing, I'm just sitting and thinking now, it'd be great to chat with guys like Kelvin van der Linde, and I look at this and I think, so do I want to be up the guy's butt going over the mountain, or do I drop back here and time my run? So let him have a bit of a gap and then give myself a clear run through the mountain past myself, so that when I'm exiting onto the long back straight, I've closed right up. So I'm not sitting with a compromised car over the mountain pass and then having a full attack down that straight. I don't know. I think there's those sort of things that you start thinking about. Because have a look. He's all over the back of him now. And this isn't really, there's no place to overtake now for the next kilometer and a bit. You kind of really are following my leader. It's a brave man that makes a move anywhere on this part of the mountain now.
Yeah, with the speed differential on these cars, it's just not big enough. We've seen fantastic moves. We've all seen the YouTube videos of the production cars, improved productions, as the Aussies say, racing through the mountain and some. Oh, the Lamborghini runs wide, touches the wall there. Lamborghini runs wide, touches the wall there. Ooh, and this is what we're talking about here, isn't it? That kind of risk factor. Let alone overtaking. I mean, how are you going to overtake if you can barely make it through? You're on your own.
See, that's my thing though. If you're sitting on board, you're sitting on the back of that car, it's definitely affecting your downforce. For sure it is. So that was my thinking. If you know you've got the top end speed, give yourself his run wide there again, touch the wall too. Like my attitude is, give him a bit of a gap, and then close him up over the mountain.
Of course.
Line yourself up. But sitting on that guy's tail through there, it's so easy to make a mistake. Suddenly you've got a front end that's washing and not turning, and you clip the wall like you did. So, yeah, I don't know. It's some interesting strategy.
Yeah, that corner exit there onto this section I think that's the critical part. That's really the overtaking maneuver. It's textbook stuff. Make sure you get the run out of that corner, and then you've already got an advantage on the straight. All you've got to do is match his exit speed. You don't even have to beat his exit speed. You just got to match it. And then for the rest of the straight, you've got 10, almost 15 kilometers an hour advantage. So I think the Lamborghini, as Aldo has got the opportunity, he's just got to take it.
Yeah, listen, I mean, even with that failed lap now, where he made, he's still within a second. So not too much lost over there. But it speaks more about how off the pace Benjamin is, So, but it's amazing. I mean, yeah, he's sitting with a damaged car. He's still sitting in second position. You have a look where Craig Eco is like another what is it, 8 seconds, 9 seconds back from Aldo Bellingham. So, these guys aren't really under any pressure here, our top three. So it's literally about them just getting stuff done. They're not being put under race pressure. The only one who's feeling it at the moment is Benjamin Lodger.
Yeah, Benjamin Lodger for sure is under immense pressure at the moment. We're now on board with Steve Koenig there in the Audi, looking so good. Steve's starting to push a lot more laps now. I know he's busy with a new setup at home as well. And Steve's one of those guys that's very active in the community, also races cars as well. I think he raced Formula V, if I'm not mistaken. So Steve Koenig really enjoying the Audi out there in 11th position. Nice to see him out there. He's got the Lexus of Wentworth just up ahead as we cut back to Aldo Bellingham. And he is now in 3rd place, 1 second behind the Porsche. And this is the section we talk about. This is where he's got to line it up.
Oh, that's such a beautiful... I mean, I'd love to drive the circuit. I think it must be so amazing. Because I think you literally, if that car is set up right and you're on it and you know the track, I think just to be sucked into that must be absolutely amazing. And I mean, we mentioned the success that Jordan Pepper obviously had, the team winning the opening round of the Intercontinental GT Challenge at Bathurst. But then you chat to a guy like Kelvin van Linde, one of the fastest guys over the mountain for Audi. It's just proper in the zone driving. It must be unbelievable when you are in that space.
Well, there's a fantastic battle happening in the screen below. We've got Sean Fenter there with Adrianza on his tail. Sean trying to shake Adrianza out of the slipstream, but he can't do anything about it. The Audi coming up close now. The Audi up alongside him. Adrianza's got the outside line. Sean goes slightly defensive. They've got Leon Leroux, looks like it, at the back of them. Adrianza goes down the inside. That's late on the brakes there. Is it too late?
Brilliant.
Yes, it is. Oh, ever so slightly, but he holds it though.
Oh, that's brilliant to watch. For me, I think Mumford, Sean also got damage to his car. He was involved in the spin that also saw him drop down. So I think he's running with a bit of a damage.
Porsche's having another look. Fenter's having another look there.
And Adrianza left the door open then basically said, come have a go at it. Let's go down the start side by side. But look, I mean, obviously he's got the inside. That's bizarre how he left that open and just gave that position straight back to him going through the whole corner.
Yeah.
Leroux saw him spin. He was also involved in that incident with Hubert earlier on, making a bit of a comeback. So he'll be licking his lips here as well because he knows this usually is going to end in tears. But the Audi's certainly got the top end speed here. I just don't know which. I'm just surprised that he gave that lead back so easily.
Oh, he goes down the outside there, tries to have a look. And then now through the mountain section, he's applying massive pressure. Maybe a little bit of frustration creeping in now. Leon Leroux, as you say, salivating at the thought.
Both of them.
Fine. Leon Leroux tries to go down the inside. They're wide. They go 3 wide through the mountain. Unbelievable stuff there. And Leon Leroux is actually trying to unlap himself here. So technically, he has to yield there. Not quite sure who was in the correct position here, but 3 wide through the mountain. And they didn't touch. That was impressive driving, and even after both of them collecting the wall.
Thanks for picking up on that as well, because I thought Leon was in with a shout. So he's obviously been in the pits with damage. I see he's 2 laps down. So good pickup there, Ernest. So
Leon Leroux. We can go further back. Leon Leroux's now crashed. We're on board with Kersop. Leon Leroux made a big mistake. I hope we can get a replay there. These guys are making silly mistakes. I'm not sure if they've got damage or what, but Leon Leroux's cars all over the place now.
Yeah, he's crashed into the wall there again. But listen, that's why he's so far back, because I think he went into the pits definitely to go and make repairs, and now I think he's just added to them again. So, yeah, it looks like Adrianza's finally he got past Fenter there. So that was both of them outbraking themselves into the cuttings, and Adrianza getting the most the best result there, getting past Mumford. We saw him make that pass earlier. But
here comes Bellingham.
Yeah.
Here comes Bellingham. And Adrianza, as you say, the big winner out of all of that. But that incident earlier on was really just a case of both of them probably looking at their mirrors or following the other one into the wall as well.
It's just, I think, because that's what's so easy when you're sitting on the back of a car there. It's so easy to brake when he brakes.
Yeah.
And he's gone now braked himself. So you're just following the guy in. I think that's what's so difficult.
What an entertaining race so far as we now go on board for the battle for second position. Benjamin Lodge runs wide. The Audi gets a bit squirrely there. Over the crest there, the car goes light flat out now into the right-hander section over here. And a very tricky section here. The guys grabbing as much curb as they dare up against the Armco barrier there. We're on board with Bellingham on the bumper cam with Bellingham.
See, this is
Bellingham chasing Logis. Now this is where he's got to do it.
And he's
Line it
outbraked
up.
himself. He's gone wide.
Oh,
See, he's gone and outbraked himself again. Look how far back he's dropped. So he had it perfectly lined up, just outbraked himself in there. I thought this was his chance, but one little mistake has gone and cost him there again. That's where he made a mistake last time. Also clipped the wall there. So
silly.
no problem. But I mean, up front, Jason Abschmer, I mean, this is what he'll be so happy about. He's like a 7-second lead. He's driving on his own. It's like an afternoon practice session at the moment for him. So he'll be stoked with that because we know pro driver in ProAM. So if you are a pro driver and you happen to find yourself in ProAM, what do you got to do? You got to win it. You got to
win it.
You've got to get the most points you can out of it. So it looks like you're well on the way to do that. But I've said that before and things have changed. So let me not curse anyone right now.
You know as well as I do, having done this for many, many years, that the commentator's curse is a very real thing. So, and I've had a few guys come to me quite upset after I've said something and it just happens to come through.
Yeah, but I wish I had that power when it came to like Powerball lottery numbers and crap like that. But I mean, you have this intuition, you say something and boom, there it goes and happens. Maybe it's because you don't mean any malice that it comes true. If you
yeah, of course not. In the bottom,
we don't wish any bad luck on any of our competitors.
Not a chance. We're looking at the bottom screen there. We're just having a look at the battle between Strauss and Ecoat. Strauss now having a look down the inside of Ecoat. Ecoat heals and Strauss with a beautiful move down at the end of the first straight over there. Well done. Strauss showing his fangs a little bit.
Yeah, but I think, remember, Craig also had contact in that Audi. So I think he's definitely got a bit of damage. He was right on the back. He was in that battle for third and fourth with Bellingham, and I think he had contact for sure. So I think he's also in a compromised Audi. But Cornet making the most of that. We haven't seen him have any hassle, so the car's running clean. Aldo is now perfectly lined up. Now just nail the brake point here, and you're going to have the drive down the long back straight. So if he gets the brake marker right here, I think Benjamin's going to be in massive. Yeah, he's got it.
Here we go. Let's see.
Nailed it.
That's the move. That's the drive. So
that's the move. Overtake coming for sure.
So now what is Logic going to do? He's got one move before the corner here. He's going to keep to the left. Logic keeps to the left. Bellingham goes down the inside. Logic's going to try and cover, but it's too late. He can do nothing now. Look how easy that was.
Yeah, it's a great. But you see, I mean, Ernest, like Telltale, like he lined it up. He had a gap. He closed him up over the mountain, and he nailed his brake marker. And then it's easy. But that's what I love about motor racing. You know what you've got to do, but it doesn't help you go and make a mistake at that crucial moment, outbraking yourself. He did it 2 laps in a row, nails it this time. You just saw the drive he had out of the corner was brilliant. I don't think Benjamin could have done much, even if his car was running on its true top-end speed, because that Lamborghini had great extra speed and obviously maximizing the draft.
Well, the gap now 7.7 seconds, and maybe too early to look so far ahead, but I don't think Logic's got the pace to match Bellingham. Now, Bellingham's been behind him for quite a few laps. Abschmeyer now 7.7 seconds in the lead, and I'll be interested to see. Bellingham just did his best lap time of a 2:03.9. Up front, we've got Abschmeyer also lapping in the 2:03s, but he just did a 2:04.1. So I think if Bellingham can put the visor down, we might have ourselves a chase for first position.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's too much. Oh, and he's gone now braked himself through the cuttings. Yes, I was going to say, I think Jason's too far up ahead. It's going to be you'll have to be best lap from here on. To have a chance. But what disappointed me there with what Aldo did is when you've got a car that's got a clear straight line advantage, you go from an overtake move down a long straight, and then literally you've got another straight. So you can actually get clear air between you and the guy behind you and murder him over the mountain. But he went and made that mistake, and that's brought Benjamin straight back into it. I think we're on board with Cornet Strauss in the small onboard screen as well. So racing is happening right over the top of Mount Panorama at the moment.
Yeah, Cornet Strauss doing very well, just half a second behind Noor Hendricks and catching fast. Cornet Strauss, and this is what I like to see. I like to see the guys show their fangs from, Cornet Strauss, they're making a teeny bit of a mistake there. But I like to see them showing their fangs from time to time. And it feels like Cornet Strauss has always been, on circuit at least, a bit more timid than some of the other guys. Maybe he's a big 6'7" guy, I don't know. But on circuit, he's always seemed a little bit timid, and it's nice to see him dispatching of some guys, cutting his way through the rest of the grid.
Yeah, I mean, look, we mentioned it right in the beginning during that qualifying session. We don't know what the tyre life is like in McLaren. It seems to run fairly well. So that might be something he's excited about as well, because we've got 20 minutes, just under 20 minutes to go in the race. is he going to be running with a sweeter handling car than the Ferrari up ahead of him? I think we're definitely going to see a battle there for fourth place. I think it's too much of a leap to get to Benjamin, who's obviously sitting in third. So I think this for us, I mean, barring anybody doing something stupid, I don't see anybody having pace to change our top three at the moment.
Yeah, top three at the moment. Some familiar names there, but what's weird is the familiar names down the bottom of the field. We've got Werner Joubert in the pit lane at the moment. The car parked in the pit lane. We've got Leon Leroux down 3 laps in 15th position. Sean Mumford also down there. George Smith. And the man that's very happy, I'm sure, is Sean Koenig, doing quite well there in 12th position. But back to the action here in the top 3. And just look at Benjamin Lodge here fighting back. I didn't think he would be able to keep up with the Lambo, but it does seem to be like he prefers to chase. So maybe having a moving target in front of him might be what Benjamin Lodge needs to keep the pace up and maybe create an opportunity later on.
Yeah, I think that's true for most of us. It's a lot easier doing the chasing, because you've got that. There's the target, and you can zone in on it. But I think, to be fair, Aldo's also made silly little mistakes at that point where you can gap him. Have a look here. Aldo's now been great through here. If he nails this, Benjamin's gone. He doesn't have the straight line speed. There we go. Lamborghini. And that is what he had the opportunity to do last time when he actually passed him down this back straight. He had the front straight to really clear the gap before the mountain, but he made a mistake and obviously brought Benjamin back into it. But yeah, I think that's it, done and dusted now. So if he doesn't make any mistakes, that is what our top 3 is going to look like for me anyway, right up to the end. But we usually are wrong because Murphy's, But anyway, we haven't seen much of Jason up front. Because he is that dominant, I think nearly 9.5 second lead now. But yeah, it's just weird seeing him racing in Pro-Ams. Definitely a top 5 pro driver, and he's had some bad luck. He's had an ESCOM moment where obviously load shedding killed his one race, and then he's had 2 issues with steering, where it's just he's had glitches on his software, and that's put him out of races too. So he really is out of place on the overall leaderboard as well. He's a way better driver than that.
Yeah, the steering wheel glitch thing it's a very real thing, and I think some of the technical failures that we talk about here can be likened to the technical failures we see in the real world. I mean, if you've got a steering wheel that's giving you problems, it's a car that's got a potential issue that can hit at any point during the race, and it's so unfortunate when the guys get taken out like that. I mean, we're on board now with Jason Ashmeyer, and I'm hoping that he can get this car home without any gremlins, without any hassles, because so far, I mean, he's driven a fantastic race.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's a good point that you brought up, because I know, I think 2 weeks ago we were bitching and moaning a little. Oh, there's a spin. That's
Jason Van Rooyen. That's Van Rooyen.
Yeah. And he's got, that was Koenig that we just gone and passed. So Koenig did very well avoiding Jason Van Rooyen. He was about a second behind him. I know Jason's got that 5-second penalty as well. But it looks like Van Rooyen's actually gone and put it in the pits now to get repairs done on that. But Koenig did very well getting out the way and letting our race leader pass. So well done to him, Stephen, for getting... Yeah, but you said he's had real race experience too, so he knows what a blue flag looks like, and he knows when to have his battles. So Jason, I'm glad you brought that up, because I know I was bitching and moaning 2 weeks ago with Jordan Sherritt, where there were again network issues. It's like you're going to do everything right. Pass, put the car on pole, and then before the race even starts, network goes down. So it's like I guess that's what Hulkenberg felt like last week. You do everything, you qualify, you don't even get to go out in the race. But I mean. Yeah, I suppose.
Someone once told me after I had one of my first incidents like that, 2 words: that's racing. I think it's just one of those things. Some days you're the hammer, some days you're the nail. Unfortunately, Jason Van Rooyen this time getting nailed at the top of the mountain there, making a bit of a mistake, and he's now in the pit lane with a 5-second penalty to boot.
That 5-second penalty was earlier. He was carrying that. That's why I wasn't too worried for Koenig, because he was a second behind, so he had that position anyway. I'm not too sure what that 5-second penalty was, probably for corner cutting somewhere or exceeding track limits. I just don't know where those track limits would be. I would probably imagine it would be through this fast sweep and maybe straight lining the heavy braking left-hander. Who knows? But he had that 5-second penalty, but he's gone and put himself in the pits anyway with damage. So, it's quite unfortunate. We've lost a lot of cars through some incident, which is a real pity.
Yeah, and if you look at the cars on screen, all of them showing some sort of form of wear and tear. Leon Leroux, a stranger to the bottom of the grid. Currently in 15th position in the number 721 car. Leon Leroux usually mixing it up way further in front and unfortunately getting involved with some of those earlier tussles now.
Yeah, he's had two bad incidents. That first one was with Vanny Hubert, who we can see he's parked in the pits in his Merc, and he got collected. There was actually facing the wrong way on the mountain. So that was damaged. Then he went and collected the walls again, went back into the pit. So he's now 3 laps down. So that's pretty much his race done and dusted. But, you know, the top 10 are going to score points here. And the way things look at the moment, if you look in 13th place is Sean Mumford, who's 2 laps down. You know, it's so easy for the guys to put it in the wall with 12 minutes to go, and suddenly, you know, you're 3 laps down, but you can still end up scoring points.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's the goal. George Smith, we know, way down. Also another pro driver we expect to see higher up. Was that Bellingham and Lodger that we had a
That
flash
looked like
out?
it. I saw a flash of Bellingham and Lodger.
Aldo gone and made a mistake.
Oh,
Yes,
looks like it.
If we can get a replay of that. So Aldo had daylight between him and Benjamin Lodger and has clearly gone and made a mistake, but Benjamin's pulling into the pit, so maybe his car is finally done in terms of wear and tear after that earlier crash on the open track.
Oh no. And just after getting that back, Benjamin Lodger pulls into the pits. What a shame. Lodger in the pits now with the Porsche up against the wall. They don't add more damage, bro. Just get the car back to the pits so that we can fix it.
We need to see what happened there, though, with Aldo, because it's also strange that he's just gone and pulled in. You know, it seems weird. That's Jason van Rooyen. We saw he spun earlier. He's back on track as well. We're on board with Bellingham. So he's back in second position where he was, but I don't know how Benjamin got back past him again and why he's pulled in pits. We know that he was running with damage, was Benjamin. So maybe it's got to the point where he couldn't carry on. But, yeah, it seems strange when he's just made a pass, eh? Unless, look at the damage. Look at the front end and the side, the right side of that Lambo. It's not pretty in black. It's straight.
Yeah, I've just got on my side. I've got my replay over here, and Bellingham made a mistake at the top of the mountain. I hope we get to see that replay on the main feed over here. But it just goes to show. I mean, it's so easy to make a mistake. It's pretty much at the section where he is now, where he made a mistake 2 laps earlier, and that's.
Listen, that's crucial. That's what we said. I promise you, in the real race this year, they had massive incidents there because the cars just were so unsettled through that little elevation change, this little bump as you turn to the left. Van Rooyen's, and Corne Strauss has clattered into him. So Van Rooyen's made another mistake again at the skyline part, and Corne's gone and collected him. So I don't know how bad the damage is to the right front of his car. That is bad news because Corne is sitting in 4th place and was chasing Noah Hendricks in the Ferrari, who's now in 3rd. This is a great potential result for Hendricks.
I tell you what, I think that Benjamin Lodger pulling into the pits is a strategic move on his part, because if he can leapfrog... Oh no, that's what happened earlier on.
That's the replay. Okay.
Ooh, that's what happened earlier on. And watch what happens after this. They make contact again straight after this. Lodger gets a bit of a nudge there from Aldo. And Aldo says, that's what you get for trying to overtake me while I'm crashing. But I think Lodger could be playing the long game here, get the car fixed, do some decent laps, and maybe get back into the fight.
No, he doesn't have enough time. I mean, that's why
only 10 minutes left.
No, I think it's bizarre. Like, whatever the damage was, he had a massive gap. There was no one putting him under any pressure. Noah Hendricks was far behind. So it's weird. I don't know. Maybe the car's... I don't know, because he's back out again, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
24 seconds back. So, yeah, I don't know. It must have been terminal damage for him then. Is that Mumford or Fenter that's pulled out again?
Fenter's got a stop-go penalty, according to
I saw a black Porsche coming out of the pits now. That might have been Mumford, though. I'm not sure. We can get a side view on it.
Well,
but we're on board with Benjamin now, who's obviously...
He's on a charge now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Let's see, Benjamin Lodger now on a charge. Let's see, as he goes over the finish line, he is 17 seconds behind Noor Hendricks. Noor Hendricks now currently in the pits, so he should be just behind Eco. Is this maneuver going to work out for Benjamin Lodger? I wonder if this was the right move. You were right there. It's only 9 minutes of racing left, though.
But we're missing a lot of stuff here, because why is Noah Hendricks in the pits? He was sitting in 3rd place. So I'd love if we can, Mr. Director, get some of these replays, because there seems to be a lot of action that we are missing on track. Because Noah Hendricks was in 3rd place. He's now in the pits, so he must have clattered into the wall somewhere as well. We spoke about it we spoke about it earlier, that this is a sort of track where one little mistake, I mentioned guys that are 2 laps down could still end up scoring points. E-Coach, who had a damaged car, who was kind of nowhere in 5th, is now sitting pretty good in 4th, with Corné Strauss having made contact with Jason van Rooyen, who had spun. What damage does the McLaren have? So there's a lot to play for here still.
Still plenty to play for. Ecoat again with a car that certainly looks worse for wear. Definitely is going to be trying to limp his way into 3rd position here. Bellingham still in 2nd, Strauss in 3rd, Benjamin Lodge 26 seconds down at a glance at the moment, but will that stay the same? And as I said, I've got my cheat sheet over here, my cheat screen over here, Marius. And on the cheat screen, I see Hendricks was trying to avoid a crashing Van Rooyen, and that's what put him out earlier.
Okay, so we saw Van Rooyen's crash. We saw Corné Strauss clatter into him. We just obviously missed what happened with Noah Hendricks. But, that incident with Bellingham, I mean, he made massive contact, and yet he's still running in 2nd. So that's why I'm just trying to understand why Benjamin did that. Because when you've got such big gaps in the field...
Yeah, but you were saying with the incident with Bellingham early on?
Yeah, I was just saying, I mean, that was big car contact into the wall for Bellingham, and he hasn't come into the pits, and he's still running in 2nd. Yeah, he's dropping back. 21 seconds is the gap to Jason up front. But that's why I'm just trying to understand why Benjamin decided to come into the pits, because you're not under any pressure. No one's behind you. If your car is damaged and you're still lapping there and thereabouts. Wow. Okay, that's a big front end hit, Noah Hendricks. Unlucky, man.
Sure. What a pity. What a pity.
At that point, Noah was sitting in 3rd place because Benjamin had pulled into the pits. So he was on line for a podium. So that is devastating for Noah Hendricks. So sorry to see that. And that wasn't even his fault, So that's dropped him way down to 11th. But I'm still trying to just understand why Benjamin came in, because you're lapping. Your car is still pointing straight. There's no one putting you under pressure, and you're in with a podium. You're going to finish 2nd or 3rd.
Well, Benjamin's back in the pits again for I'm not quite sure why, but he's back in the pits again, and unfortunately that puts him out of the running. What a disappointing end to his race. I mean, I really thought he was going to be at least in the top 5, but now currently in the pit lane.
All we can assume is that we haven't seen him, and he's gone on that new fixed car, gone and made a mistake and clattered the wall, because that's all that it can be, running on the rub. We've got William Wentworth in the Lexus having a go. I'm trying to see who's in front of him. Kershaw in the Lambo as well.
Nice.
Good, having a good run, eh?
Nice to see them. Nice to see them battling it out for 6th position. But guys, I don't think this is the spot you want to be battling it out. Look at them trying to go through here side by side. Kershaw going defensive, and Wentworth showing some massive Lexus badges in the rearview mirror of this Lamborghini, and the two of them having a nice little race here for 6th and 5th position.
See, but this is what's awesome, because these guys are normally sitting 10th, 12th, 15th, round about there. So a great opportunity to score some fantastic points for them, So this is awesome racing. Well done. With all the incidents and guys like Leon Leroux and those sort of guys we normally see at the top with massive damage and 2 or 3 laps down, it's opened the doors for the guys that have kept their nose clean and kept their cars out of the wall. So well done. Wentworth literally giving Kershaw massive pressure. Let's see if the Lexus has the straight line speed. Kershaw getting a bit squiggly coming on the power a little bit earlier, and the Lexus should be in for a good shot. Have a look there. It's got the top end for sure.
Yeah, the Lexus definitely known to be one of the faster cars in the straight. He pulls up alongside now, and no problems there. Breezes by. He's going to have the line for the following right-hander as well, and a nice overtake there from William Wentworth in the Lexus. Nice to see a Lexus in the top 5 of the ProAM category. The Lamborghini hard on the brakes there, a little bit late on the brakes there, looks like it. Runs ever so slightly wide, but that position is secured for William Wentworth.
That's brilliant. He's up to 4th place. It's fantastic with just saying like 4.5 minutes to go. This is really, really good. And like a lot of the time, we're obviously commentating on what we see up front, and there have been a lot of incidents, but Williams obviously had a very, very clean race and just been consistent, and he's reaping the rewards here, because it is that type of track where things can go wrong. You think you're out of the race because you're 15 seconds off, but those guys make mistakes, put the cars into the wall, spend time in the pits, and what do? You lap consistently. Indeed. And now you're sitting in 4th.
Look at that. Another person that's just like Wentworth, doing well to lap consistently is, of course, Corné Strauss, who is in 3rd place. who I am personally holding thumbs for. I really want to see him get a good result this week. That'll be fantastic stuff for him as well. And back to William Wentworth here, another one that's going to be very, very happy with the result today, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, you spoke about Cornet. Also, he had a hand-in-heart moment there when he clattered into Jason van Rooyen, who had that spin. But looks like, yeah, whatever the damage is, he's able to drive around it and choosing not to come into the pits. And again, I mean, why should he? You know, there's a big enough gap between third and fourth. So online, he had to secure a podium with 3 minutes to go. But I mean, Jason literally hasn't made any mistakes. Maybe he's grazed the wall once or twice, but it's been nothing major, while those behind him have had some serious incidents, and that's obviously allowed him to open up a good gap. That gap was up to 20 seconds at one point. It's now down to 14 seconds. So I don't know if Jason's just backed off, if Aldo's kind of found the sweetest rhythm of all. We know the Porsche does struggle with tire wear, so maybe it's a case of Jason really struggling for grip now with the Porsche with 2.5 minutes to go. Maybe that is the case, but he's obviously not running the same pace as he was early on.
Yeah, that's Benjamin Lodger having a look there, getting past. He's trying to unlap himself. He's still quite far down in 12th position. And that was not for position. I would imagine William Wentworth just saying, you know what, go past, do your thing. I'm going to try and circulate for the next 2 minutes and 21 seconds and collect my 4th position.
Yeah, it's sad because I mean, look, Craig Ecode as well, down in 13th. Benjamin Lodge. I mean, these are guys that were running in the top 5. Benjamin leading the race at one point and now online not to score any points. So, yeah, disappointing round 9 at Mount Panorama for a lot of our well-known drivers.
Yeah, Sean Mumford, though, scooping up 1 point in 10th position here in the Porsche. Sean Mumford going through the mountain section now. He's got Adrianza in front of him. And this looks like it could be for position. That looks, yes, it is for position. So we got 2 minutes of racing left, 1 minute 45 seconds. Sean Mumford's got his eyes on 9th position in front here, and the racing isn't over yet, folks. This comes down to the last couple of minutes as we go on board now with Mumford. The Audi gets a bit squiggly there. Sean Mumford now going to be able to have a good look through the next couple of corners. Oh my goodness, Abschmeyer's crashed. We just heard Abschmeyer's crashed. What just happened?
I don't know if that.
Oh my goodness.
What I'm thinking is that crash might have been why we saw the drop in time. You see it's down to 10 seconds now. So I'm assuming Jason was 21 seconds ahead. So it's not tire wear. He's gone and made a mistake. And that's dropped him down. So Aldo Bellingham is
my goodness.
The race. Oh, wow. I mean, this is just... And what do we say? I mean, commentators curse, a minute to go. You've gone and done 50 minutes, literally leading 49 minutes of the race, and you make one mistake, and it's a mistake at the wrong time on the last lap.
My
Unbelievable.
goodness. Unbelievable. As Mumford gets past Adrianza over there. Oh my goodness me, I'm in shock. I can't believe that just went down the way.
We've got to get on the front. We've got to have a look at what's happening there because it's a second difference between them. If we can have a look at what's happening up front, I'm not really interested in 10th because the race now with a minute to go, we need to see what's happening with Bellingham and Abschmeyer. He's 11 seconds behind. I don't know whereabouts on the track they are, if they're going to get another lap or if this is going to be the flag, because that's what's quite interesting. So Aldo, he should be getting the flag now because 15 seconds is not going to cross the line. So Aldo Bellingham is going to end up winning this race with a very damaged that he's kind of decided not to pit and just nurse it. And in front of that, I think that was us looking at E-Codes having another battle and going for a pass as well. So here's the replay up top. So Jason coming on the power, connects the wall there. Oh, wow. Big contact, and he spins it onto the back straight.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he parked the car there. That's the problem. He couldn't get the car moved again. And here comes the Lamborghini. He's trying to get the car out of the dirt over there. Gets stuck.
That should be the flag. And there it is. Aldo gets the flag.
Oh, my goodness me. Aldo Bellingham gets the flag as Abschmeyer gets stuck in the dirt with less than 2 minutes to go. What a catastrophe. Jason Abschmeyer is absolutely going to be kicking himself.
No, but listen, I mean, that's what we said. This is that circuit it's a killer. One little mistake.
Corne Strauss flashing the lights there. He looks ecstatic with himself. Corne Strauss gets 3rd place, but yeah, you're sorry to interrupt you there, Marius. I'm still a little bit flabbergasted here, mate.
I'm also just going, what a he's going, idiot, you know. Are you leading the race for flipping literally 50 minutes and you go and toss it? Because that would have been the drive out of the corner. He would have had one lap to finish. Oh, wow. But anyway, let's
Wow.
not take nothing away. Aldo Bellingham has been there and thereabouts in the top 3 the entire race and expecting a win. And Corne Strauss, we've got Corne Strauss in second, which that is odd because where has Jason gone? So that is a little bit bizarre. Wentworth in third. That can't be right.
Yeah, I think that's just some classification errors there. We'll wait for the official results after this. Whoever crosses the line first, but we'll have to wait and see. We're going to wait for our official adjudicators to give us those results. But in the meantime, we're going to be finishing up here, and we'll be back shortly just after these ads.
Let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me in. Ask him now, we'll say that. I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. All these lanes gonna zone out, and all these lanes gonna say what I did, and they twist and they work till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move from my phone. Finally back in my home. I'm working and I start off this safety car. Can we have one late to run? So it'll be just about all in can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great strap and almost bagging wheels.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.
Right, don't get greedy now, mate. Let's get settled down.
And after all that drama, the podium gets ruffled and shuffled just 2 minutes from the end there. And didn't I tell you Corne Strauss is probably a gigantic guy? Just look at those guns over there in third position. Corne Strauss bringing the guns home.
He doesn't need power steering.
Corne-
Hang on, Ernest. I don't want to. We can't muck around here. Can we put another face on the podium? Can we have 2 number ones? We've got to just mention Brad Binder.
Oh,
winning
yes.
MotoGP.
Oh, yes.
Today. That is just
Unbelievable.
hallelujah.
For South Africa. It
Put
feels
it in
so
the
good.
wall. I'll be perfect. It'll be a perfect weekend.
So now all the traitors don't have to support Valentino Rossi anymore. We can support our own guy. That's awesome.
Hey, Rossi. No, like I said, I promise you, if Hamilton puts on the wall, this is my best weekend ever.
Well, Corne Strauss is having one of his best weekends ever, I'm sure. Finally getting third place. I'm super happy for him. It's nice to see him giving the guys a bit of a nudge here and there, showing the guys, putting his cars in the mirrors and pushing his way through to third place. A nice, solid, aggressive drive from him. But the rabbit in the room is, of course, the White Rabbit Gaming Jason Abschmeyer, who drove the perfect race for 49 minutes.
No, listen. I hope we don't have to interview Jason because he's going to be super, super grumpy. I mean, he literally, he cocked that up. He threw it away. But that is what is Mount Panorama. Like the smallest mistake, the little lapse in concentration, 50 minutes of concentrating does take it out of you. One little mistake coming out of the exit onto the back straight and ends up with a car facing the wrong way and gives up the lead. So he'll be devastated. But Aldo Bellingham is going to be super, super stoked. You were talking about like his model pose 2 weeks ago. Now the model is on the top step of the podium.
Now the confidence is high there on the top spot of the podium. Certainly, confidence is definitely going to be high for him. I mean, can you believe that? Getting that first position. We've got, however, Aldo.
Yay.
Yeah, he's with us. We've got him with us. Aldo, how does it feel to, after all that's happened the last couple of weeks, your newfound fame in the sim racing community, and now a win in the last 2 minutes of at the mountain. Unbelievable stuff, man.
Yeah, that second last lap. I think the most surprised person in that whole race was me when I saw Edsmeyer on the grass. The heart started racing, but yeah, I just kept on down and tried to just finish the race without causing any incidents.
Yeah, man, it's the stuff in our water in Port Elizabeth, Aldo. It definitely is. Aldo, just tell me quickly. I mean, we could see visually there's damage to your car. We saw you clatter the wall in a couple of places. What sort of damage are you being shown?
So that chicane going there at the second sector that goes down that hill,
Yep.
I braked there and my backside just went out and I completely spun and hit the wall. I hit the wall, and as I accelerated, I tapped Lodwa on the back, unfortunately. So we'll see. They'll probably be in the incident report tomorrow night. But yeah, then I got a light damage, had some understeer from there on in, but still managed to, the car was still drivable. So I just finished the race.
Dude, but it's weird because for us it's quite difficult. I mean, that was solid impact because you literally hit all four corners. You know, you were spinning, you hit the two sides. I was like, wow, that car's going to be undrivable. So it's hard for us because we can't see what the game's telling you in terms of damage. And we know Benjamin decided to pit after because he got past you, but he decided to pit, and we were trying to figure out, like, has he got enough damage? He's still running in second, you know, so it's quite hard. But you managed to bring the car home and win it. Unbelievable. What a track, eh?
Yeah, it's such a technical track and there's absolutely zero room for error. You must keep the car on the road. If you go off slightly, that it will cause damage. I think I was very, very lucky not getting major damage on the car. Yeah.
Look, Aldo, you might want to check your mic out there, because in my headphone, you sound like you're coming from above, like the voice of God or something. So not only is this guy a model on the side, he wins races, and he's got the voice to boot as well. You're going to put us out of a job here, Aldo. But so far, so good. A fantastic season. Your season's only getting better. Really well done. Congratulations on that win. You got to take what you can get, and you saw the opportunity and took it. So congratulations, man. A solid performance at one of the most tricky and difficult circuits in the world. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Awesome stuff. That was Aldo Bellingen. Our winner scoops up 11 points for his trouble. And I mean, just going up against a name like Jason Abschmeyer has a psychological disadvantage on its own. You know, Abschmeyer is really good. He's probably not going to make a mistake in the last 2 minutes. But for Bellingen to keep his head and just keep head down, keep pushing, I mean, well-deserved win.
But you know, Ernest, the cool thing as well is like Aldo wasn't even worried about Jason. Like that wasn't his race. Jason was gone. So he was dealing with Benjamin. Benjamin went to the pit. So he was now done. I'm in second place. There's no one to bother me. And that's why he was so surprised, because he was finishing in second. He'd got all the work done. So to be gifted the win. But like, I hate saying that, gifted the win, because you still have to be there. You still have to be on track at that point to take advantage of the other guy's mistake. And that's where he capitalized big time. But I know Jason's going to be devastated. Corné Strauss will be stoked, because for him, he was like outside of that top 5 battle, and he worked his way, like you mentioned it. He was actually very racy today, and he put his car in the right places, and he worked his way up. And while other people were making mistakes, he wasn't, and ends up on the podium. So he'll be super stoked. Nice to have that. Lamborghini, Porsche, McLaren, and just outside, William Wentworth in the Lexus. I mean, it's brilliant.
It's so great to see those names. It's so nice to see those names so far up the grid. William Wentworth, Kersop as well. G-Max, after all G-Max's drama, still in the mix there, collects 6 points. And, you know, one of the guys that I think is punching the air the most, Steve Koenig, doing so well there in the Audi, scooping up 5 points. Just fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Noah Hendricks, I'm going to admit as well, because remember, he was lying in third at one place, and then obviously collected Jason van Rooyen when he had that spin, and Noah ended up having to go to the pit. So yes, Noah's like our new Jason Webb at the moment, like very, very unlucky. Very unlucky there. So
I don't think Jason Webb's going to like that talk of him being unlucky at the moment.
He was. Right?
We're trying to shake that curse.
No, well, he has. if anything bad was going to happen, it was going to happen to Jason Webb. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how it was. And then suddenly he got the result. So that's he's put that behind it. But it looks like he's handed the curse over to him.
Looks like it. Well, we're going to finish up now and finish up for the Pro-Am division. We will be back at 5 p.m. So let's all go and enjoy the Formula One and celebrate Brad Binder's win. And we'll see you guys back here for the pro race. You do not want to miss the pros at the mountain. We'll see you guys at 5 o'clock.